Hello there, sir.
Hello.
Hello there, sir. How are you?
Hi. And here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday. It is Tuesday, February 8th, and I am joined by Cliff Broadway. Quick Beam 2000, if you're lucky to know him.
Well, hello
Hello,
there.
Cliff.
I'm Clifford Broadway, and you are watching Torn Tuesday. And I am very lucky, indeed, I am blessed to be joined by Justin Sewell. There he is, right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I am more
This is the
lucky
show.
to be joined by a bunch of fans in the chat room. I see Candace and Hans and Imran and Sarah, Cecilia,
Ah,
Otaku
yes, yes.
Senpai, Alex,
I'm over
Dan,
here,
Erica. I see so many of you wonderful regulars. We are
and
streaming
I'm
as we
looking at everyone
do
too here.
on
Hello, everybody.
YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, and on Twitter at the same time. Can you believe it? We are magic. And Cliff, I didn't tell you this, but we are streaming to one new platform today.
What is the new platform? Tell me, is it Discord?
It is
No.
Discord,
Ah,
yes.
let me guess, because now we have officially put the pedal to the metal on our new Discord. It's kind of new, but we're really encouraging a lot of people to come and follow us and join the conversation on Discord. And hello, everybody in the YouTube chat. And I acknowledge I can see everybody on this device while I'm looking at this device. Um, Promise of big changes coming. Everybody knows that there are a lot of big changes coming.
Would you say there
The
is something in the water?
I could feel it in the air, smell it in the air, and feel it in the water, feel it in the earth. There is something that is Treebeard Galadriel dialogue. Yeah, there's something about that. But let me just say, everybody can say goodbye to this digital format of seeing me, because the next time we broadcast, I will be upgraded with a new system and a new microphone, and I'm quite sure that this is going to be,
For permanent?
yeah, yeah.
You haven't told me this. I'm so
I'm
I'm probably most excited
I'm
to see what
upgrading.
you look like.
I'm upgrading to a new system, and I'm I'm getting a, what do they call it? Let's see. It's called a. I'm getting a Blue Yeti microphone, and I'm gonna have this whole setup, and I'll have a new MacBook. And then instead of using this old device that I'm using now, we're gonna have a different look, and probably I will sound a lot better on the live stream. So say goodbye to this old version of Clifford, and welcome the new Quick Beam
You're making
2022.
promises your body better cash. You're writing
Uh,
checks.
writing a check that ass cannot cash. Yeah, that's what they say. Yes, but
Up,
no, seriously, it's gonna happen. Everybody, trust me. Totoro is making a promise. Totoro is making a promise to you that it's going to happen. And thank you for the compliments on the shirt. I see everyone in the live chat being hilarious. Yeah,
I
this is
got a
my.
cool shirt too.
Because may the dwarves be with you.
And
This is
Gandalf wants you for the Battle of the Five Armies. That's my shirt.
so patriotic. So we have a bunch of big news to cover, and let's get right to the mischief.
Well,
And
Kaylin Griffin in the chat room says, "Wait, you guys have a Discord?" Yes, we just set it up last week. I'm gonna type it into the chat right now. It's discord.gg/the One Ring,
I'll
and in 1 week, Cliff, this has surpassed all of our expectations. In 1 week, we have nearly 1,000 fans signed into our Discord. This makes it one of the fastest growing Discords of any genre and bigger than most NFTs Discords, which that's all I wanted to be, was better than an NFT, because Tolkien fandom are better than NFTs no matter what.
Do you know what? Here's my contribution to the NFTs. Okay, I went onto Etsy. I found an artisan named Cindy. Hi, Cindy. And there on Etsy, I found a homemade sign for my "Take a book, leave a book." I self-created a miniature lending library in my apartment building because we have this exposed staircase and it has an open landing with this big, deep shelf. And for a long time, over a decade and a half, that shelf was empty as you go between the second floor and the first floor. And now I've decorated it with a big piece of fabric, mountains of books, and the other neighbors have taken some books and put them all in. And now I bought this, and I put in some candles and little garden plants, and now we have a reading nook in my own. So, in other words, support your local library, ladies and gentlemen. And this is my NFT.
Of all sizes.
This is my NFT, the lending library. You guys can screenshot this, and then I'll trace the blockchain and make sure that you're paying me the money that you owe me. Cindy, pay Cindy on Etsy for making this beautiful, beautiful lending library. So that now something my neighbors can do as they walk in between flights of stairs is look at all the good books we have available for everyone.
And Monica in the chat room asks what an NFT is, and it's better that you don't know. Don't even look it up. It's not worth your time, and it's not even worth the space in your brain to know what it is and or anything. Just know it's not good. Thank you for the compliments on the hat.
Just avoid the nonsense, and yes.
I appreciate the compliments on the hat. This was made by a fan and sent to us in Hollywood, and we just got it randomly. So, like, I just love. Of course, we're like any hobbits. We love gifts, and we're like Gollum. We just love preciouses.
Oh my goodness.
So if you want to send us a gift ever, you can send it to Scum and Villainy Cantina in Hollywood, California, and it'll get to us, just like some posters. Cliff, I need to get the poster that someone sent us and put it in this big blank space right there. I have a frame for it already and everything.
Okay,
so
good. Excellent. We just need to get Peter Jackson to autograph it, and we're set.
That's a good idea. So I'm not quite sure how Discord works right now. I know that the video might be flipped on Discord, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I don't know how to turn people on or off. So we're still figuring out our Discord. But we've got a 1,000 wonderful fans that are having conversations on all the different topics of the Hobbit movies, the collectibles, the music, the ringers, everything like that. So it's just it's wonderful, and it's everyone's having a good time over on Discord.
I'm trying to pop into the Discord as much as I remind myself.
And big shout out to Varking. Rune Song has helped put it all together. I think you're watching there, so go ahead and mute. I couldn't figure out how to mute everybody, so mute everybody that's not me or not this broadcast, because we're here to talk, and we're going to have some special guests from the Torn staff to join us to talk about the posters in just a few minutes. But we've got a bunch of stuff to go to. So we got Discord going on, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much for all the support, and thank you, Varking, who not only helped set up the Torn Discord.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you can believe it, old staffers of the One Ring, Demosthenes and Tukish, and so many wonderful people. Even Zoanon has shown up in the Discord. I can't get these guys to post an article on the front page for nothing, and they haven't touched IRC in a decade. But here, everybody is. Basically, Varking got the whole band back together. So thank you for creating a reunion of sorts on Discord. That's what I'm saying. There's so much great energy on Discord, and there's a free app that you can keep up with conversations wherever you go, and you get notifications. I've got all the notifications turned off because I cannot deal with too many notifications. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and that everybody's there. And
dude, Cliff, talk about too many notifications. I got 23 notifications a few days ago, one for each poster.
Oh my gosh!
23 notifications. I mean, really, those posters have to be the biggest story and the biggest item of the day, obviously, with Tolkien fans, and it has caused much excitement and debate and energy among all the fandom trying to talk about these posters. And
that's right. And we're gonna talk. We're gonna dive deep in. This might go long. We might have a long show because there's a lot to dive in.
We'll do our best.
Those posters. And if Cliff has to leave, we got other staff members ready to jump in.
No, I don't have to leave. I'm just saying, we'll see how long the tablet goes before the battery dies.
Well, before we talk about the posters, Cliff, we should talk about the big news from yesterday.
Yes. Was it the big news from yesterday? Oh, come on! There's been so much big news. Oh,
the big news is that in 5 days' time.
And the big news was in Elvish, and everyone was running around trying to translate the Elvish. And what did it say? It said February 10/3. That's what the Elvish said.
Right.
Because Amazon Studios said, pay attention, look at this. And on the image, it said in the Tengwar alphabet, February 10/3.
Which means February 13th, which is Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes.
Shout out to Matt, Nerd of the Rings. He called it first, he called it longest, and he called it best. So, you know what, Matt? You get the cred for this, and we will not mass unsubscribe from your massive YouTube channel with 500,000 other fans.
Ruby,
Matt got it right.
Ruby, I'm going to say a big shout out there in YouTube to Ruby Cubes, who has just said, this might sound dumb, but what posters?
We're going to get to that in a second. We have a ton to get through. So
we're going to show
the big news is we've got
great stuff.
A Super Bowl trailer coming. And the other big news, which I'm so excited, Cliff. I'm so excited, but Amazon has asked you and I and a bunch of other people to get together and debut the trailer and have a little watch party.
Mithrandir is coming to join us for the live stream too.
I don't think so. I'm allergic to cats, so no cats.
This Super Bowl is going to be streamed with all of us doing analysis and reaction and talking about what we've just seen and kind of enjoying the energy, the big freak out and the big surprise of what are they going to be revealing, and we're leading the charge on Super Bowl Sunday. Yes, that's right.
We're so excited, and Amazon wants to make this an official watch party, if you want to call it that. So we can't do this alone. So we're teaming up with Matt, Nerd of the Rings. So he's going to be in on it. And we're teaming up with the Tolkien professor because we need expert analysis. And we've got so many other wonderful people.
You mean the beloved Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor?
That's right. And so many wonderful guests that we're going to jump in at different times. Because, Cliff, remember when they released that photo last summer? We spent 3 hours analyzing that photo, trying to guess who that person was, which we all got it wrong. And then just going through all the little details in the swan boats. So if one photo took 3 hours, I can imagine that our trailer analysis is going to go at least 3 hours. At least.
I'm sure it's very exciting. This is going to be very exciting.
So, Cliff is upgrading his systems just for this. I'm going to do what I can to make it look good, and we're just going to do it. So, and I think Amazon's going to promote it. So, like the best of both worlds. I guess we're gonna have
There's
fun, and
we're
you are
going to
all
have
invited to watch, and some of you are invited to speak. But we'll figure out all the
well, yes,
details later.
we're going to be bringing in people to share their incredible amounts of wisdom because there's a great variance in scholarship when it comes to Tolkien.
There's
Um,
the low end like me, haven't read the book.
there's no, I mean, there's a great there are people who will be looking for details um, at the farthest corner of book lore and the posthumously published materials that Tolkien never finished, like Corey Olson, and he will understand the distinctions between, you know, when Professor Tolkien thought about the Blue Wizards in a negative way and that they had failed in their quest, versus when he revisited the Blue Wizards later in his life and he thought, no, no, maybe not. Maybe we could craft a story about them where they were much more successful in their efforts against the old energies of Morgoth that had been left behind. And, you know, Professor Tolkien had a lot of thought behind it. And that's the type of scholarship you're going to get from someone like Corey Olson. From myself, I would probably take a hinge on looking at popular culture references and analogies to, you know, the way other things have been presented to us as a fandom and the way that we're reacting to it now. And
So
you
we're
know,
going to get a
I'm
variety of opinions and
fascinating,
perspectives of
lots of
that.
different
But
opinions,
Cliff, I want to ask you
far and
because
wide, far and wide.
Dave Gentry in the chat room. Dave, it's great to see you. You've been a longtime viewer of the show, and it's always great to see your name in the comments. But Cliff, Dave says, my Bengals are playing in the Super Bowl, and I get to see Lord of the Rings trailer. Are you kidding me? I was in fifth grade the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl. Cliff, you live in Los
Right.
Angeles. The
Yes.
bowl is played in Los Angeles, and your LA Rams are in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. Are you telling me that you are going to turn off the Super Bowl with your local team?
Tolkien comes first. Sorry, Rams. You know, sorry for the LA Rams, you know, but to be honest, this is the very first time in a lifetime that we're going into Numenor. And I'm all about that. Sorry. And let me just put it this way, okay? Uh, the Temple of Meneltarma, greater than the SoFi Stadium. Just that's all I got to say. You know, given a choice, if I'm driving my automobile down that meme, that famous meme with the fork in the road that goes to light, beautiful sunshine and a house and a castle, or the dark forest of evil castle, and which fork in the road am I going to take? SoFi Stadium or Meneltarma? And you know, I don't know. What am I going to choose? You guys,
What do you mean? What are you going to
seriously,
choose?
no, don't. You can't remind me over and over again how much, you know, I'm going to be missing out on something because I don't feel that way, Justin. The way you present it, I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm missing out. Most of my attention to the Super Bowl, anyways, is like looking at the commercials and looking at the way the motion picture industry is presenting itself and looking at the way fans are responding to things and the kind of discourse that we have among fans. That's that dynamic about the way we respond to the, you know, the presentation of this show. That's very
Well,
interesting to me. It's
let's
really,
let,
that's where
let's
I'm at.
let's go
So
to Twitter where I've
yeah.
asked people who you got for the big game, Rams or Bengals, and Galadriel seems to be in the lead by a lot. so, um, Dave, I hope your Bengals do well in the game, but I think the Super Bowl this year is all Galadriel's game, no matter what. So that's so exciting, Cliff. Um,
Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
Cliff, do you feel any pressure that Amazon has asked you to host something official? Like this
No,
kind of.
no. This is a delight to be in the presence of, you know, these intelligent and creative Tolkien fans is always a pleasure, always. And we're going to have such a great conversation looking at, you know, for the very first time, those areas of Tolkien's pages that have never made it to screen. There's been wonderful animation and there's been wonderful live action adaptations. There's even been the spoof of Fellowship on stage, Fellowship the musical. There's been stage presentation of The Lord of the Rings that they did in London's West End Theatre. There has been all kinds of adaptations, but we've never gone to the second age, and it's like the novelty of it. It's the brand new quality of discovering something new that we've never looked at before. That is the essence of it that gets me excited as a Tolkien fan. It's the sense of discovery. We are going to discover how other artistic minds and hands wielding paint and brush and scalpel. We're
You're
going to
quoting Tolkien right here.
I'm paraphrasing. Professor Tolkien,
Paraphrasing.
but I'm getting as close to the original quote as I can. We're going to be the beneficiaries of looking at a whole new, rather novel, it might be for many people a novel approach to adapting Tolkien. And because of that brand new quality, it has that extra luster. It has that extra attractive quality of newness. And I'm
well, you might not be nervous.
To it.
You might not be nervous, but I am completely stressed because,
really,
everyone that's been part of the show, sometimes I forget to unmute Cliff and things like that. So my technical jiggery pokery is my hands are sweating just thinking about Sunday, because there's going to be a lot of fans watching and a lot of you, and we want to see all your participation. We want you to be a part of it, whether you're on screen or not. So I'm looking at plugins for Twitter, so we can feature chat comments on screen and tweets on screen with a certain hashtag, like maybe it's LOTR trailer. I don't know. We're gonna figure out all the details, but okay. So that's the official thing. Now here's the Green Dragon gossip.
It's so early in the show for that.
Go ahead. There's a whole bunch of gossip to go through over things, but that's the official stuff that Amazon has given us. We haven't seen the trailer. Cliff, you haven't seen the trailer. No. We're not even joking. No.
Not this time. This time, for real. I haven't seen the trailer, and I'm curious, and I would like to push the speculation to our beautiful fans in the audience with us. Do you think it's likely that they'll do something unconventional, like show us the opening scene?
I don't even want to get to it. Here's what I've heard.
I do. I mean, it's just as likely.
That's a different conversation,
trailer,
or
it could be like
it's a trailer. It's an edited trailer. And here's the Green Dragon gossip. Okay. We haven't seen the trailer. Amazon has not given us any information, and we're not withholding anything from you.
But it's a trailer, and it's not.
We know it's a trailer. We know it's a trailer. It's not a stupid little nothing burger. This is substantial.
Okay. Yeah.
We know, and we've heard from our friends at NBC Sports that Amazon might have purchased an entire 2-minute ad block to show the entire trailer on television. Not a 30-second, here's a little teaser, watch the whole thing on YouTube. You guys know what I'm talking about. Disney and Marvel do this all the time. Here's a little 30-second teaser, watch the whole thing on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Rumor has it, I don't know if this is true, that the full 2-minute trailer will be in the commercial break. And Cliff, let me tell you, I just looked it up. It is cost $6.5 million for every 30 seconds of airtime.
And that money doesn't matter to Amazon at all. Money doesn't matter at all to them.
So $6.5 million per 30 seconds. 2 minutes. 2 minutes times 6.5. What's 4 times 6, Cliff?
4 times 6 is 24. Thank you.
Plus 5 million. 24. Let's call it. Amazon is potentially spending $25 million on the Super Bowl commercial space. That's before the production and the editing and all the other stuff. This is huge.
Potential expenditure is $25 million for a Super Bowl ad?
Yep. The richest, the most expensive TV show in TV history has purchased the most expensive airtime on television to debut this massive show. this is what it means, Cliff. That
Oh my
is,
goodness.
um, it's massive, right?
Wow, I just tweeted that. So I'm intrigued by this. The thing is that it's a media frenzy, and to a large degree, the cultural phenomenon around the Super Bowl is not so much about the football game itself. The dynamics of that have moved beyond the game to people actually talking about the media frenzy and the culture around that. And
Andrew
that
would like to
really,
remind everybody in the chat room that Amazon makes $26 million per hour.
sure. I'm sure it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket of a very large, large,
Now,
large, large bucket.
and Cliff, it's not just hyperbole that Amazon and Uncle Jeff want Lord of the Rings to be the only thing that people talk about when it comes to the Super Bowl, other than the Super Bowl. They probably want people to talk about Lord of the Rings more than the Super Bowl. And it's not just hyperbole, because I'm going to bring this up. This is a tweet. This is a real tweet from the president of Amazon Prime Studios. The president of Amazon Prime Studios says, in case the Super Bowl or the halftime show isn't doing it for you. The president of Amazon is basically saying...
That's pretty brazen. That's almost as brazen as you can get.
The president of Amazon is saying the Lord of the Rings will be bigger than the halftime show.
For some of us, yes. For a certain audience that is being reached by that, yeah. The answer is yes. So yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that.
William said, Cliff. William in the chat room says, "I hope they're playing Cliff well." They're paying you, right?
They're not paying me anything. I've never gotten paid anything. I never have. Can I remind the audience yet again, at least those who are tuning in and have never seen us before, if you don't know, the OneRing.net are all volunteers, and we've always just been volunteers doing it for the love of Tolkien. And the energy has been so captivating and so strong, it has kept us going for more than 2 decades, longer than any other non-profit, fan-based online community of its kind. Nothing else has lasted as long as we have, with the integrity that we have as a Tolkien community, and that's about it. That's it. So, I wouldn't take a check. I wouldn't take any payments, However, if I had been hired to be, a consultant, like I was once hired to work as a consultant on a couple of video games for Universal
and the DVD, the Lord of the Rings DVDs. Like, you consulted on the menus and the maps, didn't you?
Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah, I did a lot of language and maps consulting and lore consulting with Michael Pellerin on the appendices features on the home video releases of the Lord of the Rings films. I did a lot of consulting to make sure that things were right and not wrong. For example, when in the movie Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are out of the mountains and come out of the paths of the dead, and they look down the hillside, and right there, bam, like underneath their feet, is the River Anduin. And that is a pretty egregious mistake, or a flub that Peter Jackson did with the geography of Middle-earth. Because in real life, in the real book, Aragorn comes out at the Stone of Erech, and on that southern side of the White Mountains, and he is a good 100 and something miles
what are we talking? You lost me.
I know I lost you, but
about?
I had to correct the maps on the DVDs and the Blu-rays.
Okay.
Because the maps had to match either the book, where it was 100 and something miles away from the river, or the way Peter Jackson showed it, was right down the bottom of the hillside when they came out of the mountains. So we had to work on fixing things to make everything correct with the lore. So that's what somebody like me would do as a consultant, is check.
Look, the point is we're doing this. We were gonna do this anyway, right? This trailer analysis, and then Amazon says, let's make it official. And it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's just about this community of fans. And to that point, we are
Yeah.
going to make extra effort. Like you said, Cliff is buying all new equipment to look his best. I'm sweating on all the technical details, but we are reaching out to a bunch of people that you love on Twitter and TikTok and all over the place. Like I said, Matt Nerd of the Rings, Tolkien Professor. We've got a bunch of the Tolkien Society folks. It's 4 a.m, so I don't think they're going to be awake. But
No.
whoever's going to be awake, like we've got Molly Ostertag, the Hobbit Gay account, is going to chime in with her thoughts. We've got my LSR, who's one of my favorite Twitter accounts right now. We got Anna Marie, who is just a wonderful author and writer. Kelly Rice, the author of Middle Earth from Script to Screen, co-authored with Daniel Falconer. Kelly Rice is going to be here. So we're trying to get a big bunch of people that we can all watch the trailer together and then immediately pour our hearts out of what this made us felt, because the hype is real and I'm so excited. And we've got so many other surprises. It's going to be tricky scheduling everybody back and forth because there's just so many people raising their hands saying, can I help? Can I partake? Can I be a part of this? Like, the answer is yes, we want everybody part of this. So maybe it's just chat room, maybe it's on Twitter, and maybe it's video. We're going to figure all the stuff out, but we're really excited. More details later in the week, because we've got so much to organize, Cliff. And so I promise we will have more details on where to watch, how to join, and all the stuff. And gosh, like we're going to have a blast. We're going to have so much fun.
Fantastic. And there is a lot to do. It does represent a lot of effort. And we'll be putting out the information on all our social channels and Twitter and Facebook, of course, primarily, and Instagram, to let everybody know how they can participate. We're going to cover all the bases that we can.
We're going to cover all the bases. So
I'm excited. I'm down for it. I'm totally down for it. And nervous? No, I wouldn't say nervous.
I'm nervous because...
Do you know who's nervous? Who's nervous is the fandom. The fandom is still nervous because
my God,
this is what they are most anxious about and most desiring to learn about is this. This is the moment.
Wait, so and this nervousness that fans have going into seeing the first anything. We've been nervous for 5 years now since Amazon acquired the rights. We've been nervous for 2 years since they started filming, and nothing leaked. Nothing leaked. I mean, we leaked some stuff, but it wasn't like the old days where we were getting like helicopter set photos of like, hey, that looks like a Shire thing. They kept we didn't even leak the title, The Rings of Power, until that thing. So, Cliff, I saw you posted something today, and it's 23 questions for Lord of the Rings fans want answered for the Rings of Power. And this is something you've been talking about for a while because 20 years ago, well, you explain it, right? Like,
well, there was an internet thing, and nobody knew how big it was going to be, but it was the lightning rod that drew all the fans' attention. Everybody in fandom had their eyes on Ain't It Cool News because Peter Jackson personally agreed to the guy who was running the website, Harry, that he was going to take raw, Ask Me Anything, and there wasn't a Reddit at the time. There was no AMA at the time. There was no concept of the filmmaker coming out of the director's chair and sitting there and being able to like openly take raw questions, unedited, unfiltered questions from the direct interested parties, being the fans themselves. And maybe it is a personal point of pride, but one of those 20 questions was for me, myself. And Harry took that and gave the edited list to Peter. Peter Jackson came back and he returned to the fans with a very generous response. And he was so lovely. And that is when we first realized, wow, we can have a relationship with the director, we, the fans, because he's reaching out to us. And it felt like that. It was psychologically the balm in Gilead, was that Peter reached out to us, the fans, and answered 20 questions, unexpurgated, raw, ready to talk, and he talked about massive software, making digital armies across the landscape. We talked about filming in New Zealand. He talked about, well, I have some secrets to reveal, but there's a person you've never ever heard of. I know you've never heard of him, Andy Serkis, and he's the performer who's going to be making Gollum for us with motion capture. And we had never heard of this stuff back then. So, in the spirit of what happened 20 years ago, with that very effective and really interesting energy being created between the fandom and the primary creative person responsible, he engaged with us in a way that we would hope to recreate right now, today. So, in honor of the 23 character posters that were dropped a few days ago by Amazon, we reached out to the staff of the OneRing.net, and we reached out to a lot of other fans online and in person, and got different questions and fielded them all and whittled it down to 23 of the biggest burning, right now, current questions that we would like to ask the showrunners and the producers of the Rings of Power. And so there they are. We just published that earlier today.
That's great. And so like going through it, do you have are you able to see it or bring it up on your phone?
Of course, yeah. No, I have it all right here in front of me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's just run. Why don't you run through them real quick, and then in the chat room we want to see which ones are important to you. So if Cliff says a question and you're like, yes, this is important to me, like let us know in the chat.
Well, here you go. What weighs most heavily on a ringer's soul? That was something I got from you, Justin. That's very funny. Will there be singing and songs, songcraft in the series? Because, as we know, poetry and songs are a very, very important part of Tolkien's written worlds. Big question. And we did get a great deal of satisfaction of Richard Armitage and the other dwarves singing in An Unexpected Journey. It was really awesome. And we have the unique pleasure of Billy Boyd singing a cappella to Denethor in this harrowing and emotional moment in The Return of the King. So we want to know, first question, are we going to get singing and songs? Because, we know, there's lots and lots of that in the books. So we'd like to see some of this. All right, next question. And this one is pretty big for me. Personally, this is my beef. Describe the challenge in writing a show in which you have such extensive established lore that yet has the least amount of existing narrative that Tolkien wrote himself personally. So how do the writers approach this? What do you think of that? And I do want to put this question right now to the YouTube audience. We're looking at the challenge of making the Second Age from appendices, and there aren't extensive novels, lots of stories and lots of direct novels about all these events in the Second Age. It's more like bullet points in an appendix. So with all this established lore, but without lots and lots of narrative, how is the writer's room going to approach this challenge? So I'm going to ask you guys, do you think that's a pretty good question?
Yeah, Alex in the chat room says number 2 is a biggie. And Robert says the dialogue is going to be tough to make it feel accurate.
So yeah, and going on, question number 3. Will we see various different types of beings within a race? For example, the Noldor and the Teleri, very different elves, but still elves, right? You could extend that to the dwarves as well, the 7 dwarven houses. Will we see, the Longbeards, and will we see other houses of dwarves? Really, because there's all this subtext, and a lot of it is metaphysical subtext about why the elves are different from one another. Noticing the distinction between those who stayed behind and those who went to Valinor. Really,
and I want to stress the importance of this, not just from a diversity thing, from a casual viewer. I remember, Cliff, it took you a long time to explain to me, because I was very confused, that Arwen and Galadriel were not in the same tribe. like as a casual fan coming into the Lord of the Rings movies, I'm like, oh, an elf is an elf, and you're like, no, the Galadriel elves that you see are
The Noldor.
very different
The
than
Noldor.
Elrond's elves. And I'm like, wait, do they hate each other? Why do they live apart? Like, there's a whole backstory, and so what I've learned
Well,
doing this
that's
show with
because
you,
you hadn't read the Silmarillion, and the audience is still
no one
begging you to.
has. Come
Well,
on.
I have many times, and the audience is begging you to read the Silmarillion. Justin, come on.
Well,
No,
I'm
seriously.
just saying it's not just will we see different races. Like I do, like with the television, we have many more hours to explain things, and
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to the idea of like we've already seen different races of elves, and even I got confused. So I'm looking forward to the Amazon like diving in more um, into that because there's more time on television to tell these stories and show different tribes and races, not just tribes, races and tribes within those races. So that's exciting to me. Personally, I'm just excited.
She was of the last generation of high elves, but to sit down and explain to someone the way that Stephen Colbert could sit down and just rattle off a massive list of the difference between the Sindar and the Noldor and the Nandor and the Vanyar and the light and dark elves, the Calaquendi and the
Yeah, I
Moraquendi.
know I should read the Silmarillion chat room, but gosh, like I just have PTSD of being forced to read the Holy Bible when I was a child in Sunday school, and I couldn't remember anything. And then, like in Awanas, they graded and tested you if you could remember the five passages that you had to memorize that week, and I could never do that. And it's just, and then I opened the Silmarillion, and it just felt a little too Bible-ish, like the way it's written, where it's like so and so begat so and so begat so and so. I'm like, oh man, this is like, anyway, that's just me. Anyway, Cliff, continue. What's number three?
I'm going to text you this article about the differences between the elves and all the different subtypes of elves. So, if you're not
I
going to
want
read this,
I want Amazon to show me
I want
in
you to read
great
the Silmarillion.
storytelling.
You're funny.
Okay, number four, Cliff.
Number four. Where is sexy Sauron? No, really, where? Where is sexy
We're
Sauron?
not joking. He's got to be attractive.
At this point, everybody expects uh, Tom Hiddleston type of thing from an Anatar who can be charismatic and seduce people to believe in his cause or to believe in his BS. And if he's going to be anything like, if he's going to have the sex appeal of Tom Hiddleston or a Loki type presence, that's because people are not going to know the dark, dark evil that is right under the surface. So, yeah, where is sexy Sauron? And that's question number four. Number five, will the
And
production.
Anna says, I think there will
Okay,
be a riot if he isn't attractive.
that's funny.
No, really, he has to be attractive. Like, sexier than Loki. All right, continue.
That's so funny that of Gondor is saying that as that hashtag Feanor did nothing wrong. You better watch out. That's them's fighting words among the elves. That's too funny. I love it. Audible book. Yeah, Orion's Angel says get the Audible. Okay. Um, it's so funny.
We'll call an audible this Sunday during the Super Bowl.
Okay, so question number five. Will the production seek to film in other locations globally? Globally around the world? Because, Game of Thrones filmed in lots and lots and lots of different places, a lot of different places, even going to Iceland, right? So we wonder about that. We wonder where they're going to go. They're going to stay primarily in England, but what if they decide to pack up and film second unit or somewhere else on the continent, in the European continent, to go somewhere else and surprise us? Um, we'll see about that. Now, question number six. Why Harfoots and why now? Did halflings in the Second Age seem essential for continuity? The continuity of the larger Middle Earth
And
stories?
honestly, that question didn't come from me or Cliff because I've been really excited for Harfoots ever since, and especially because Lenny Henry is confirmed as one of them. But
Mm.
uh, we that question exists because so many people have said that exact question. Come on, why Harfoots? Why
Why are you having
halflings?
hobbits? Why halflings in the second age? I've been asking that a long time ago. But then, if you want to go with the conceit that the hobbits didn't really record their history, um, then that's why we don't know. But it was recorded in the Red Book that the hobbits were migrating around from the eastern Vale of the Misty Mountains to the western Vales sometime in the Third Age. Oops,
Yeah,
Third
but
Age.
but they
So
existed way earlier, according to the prologue pages of the Lord of the Rings book.
their
Just to be clear,
their ancestors.
you published this list, but this isn't. This is 23 questions from the community as a whole,
Yeah.
because these are the questions that keep popping up that are
Yes.
just kind of not
Yeah.
overwhelming, but they're floating there, and it's just it's like
And we have
I don't think we can wait till September 2nd.
no.
Like, if
I
you
wouldn't
really want
know.
us to love this show, give us a little something.
After all of the very enriching conversations we've had with fans, and after canvassing quite a few fan groups and a lot of different people, we found that the barometric pressure is building towards, we want to know what's going on with these things, with all these things. So here they are. These are, the top questions of mind. Now, where were we?
Well, and Monica in the chat room says, I think maybe the Hobbits bring in the newbie fans. I think so too. Alex says, you know what? Isildur doesn't have a recorded mother or wife. We still need to know who they are. So there's a lot of room for creativity and creating new characters, and it
Mhm.
still remains true to Tolkien. Anyway, continue.
Now, Robert Hill suggests maybe the Harfoots started migrating early because Sauron started building up in Mordor, or his
Ooh.
other forces were present near the Vales of the Anduin, and that, yeah, maybe certain things were happening and they wanted to move westward sooner. That's just as equally likely as anything else. Yes, it's a very good point. I'll take that. Um, uh, this is intriguing. Now, on to the next question. Thanks, everybody. I'm digging everybody's responses. Thank you for being with us in the chat. I'm digging this so much. Question number 7. Fans are mainly concerned if this show will have fidelity to Tolkien. In other words, will be true to the lore. So, who are the lore experts? Or who is the lore expert on the show? That's question number 7. Who did you guys bring in to work as a lore expert? Or if there's multiple persons, who are they? Right? Now, question number
And
8.
why wasn't it Cliff Broadway?
I don't know. And what the answer, I think the answer was probably COVID, because they couldn't probably get anybody shipped down there from other countries, because they probably had problems packing up people to go down there and work. Who knows?
No, Cliff,
But
you said that it's never been about the money, but would you take the job?
If I had taken the job, I would have to immediately quit all of my editorial and hosting responsibilities at the OneRing.net, because I would no longer be a non-paid volunteer. It would represent the end, the absolute end of one career and starting a different career, if that happened. Just so I can make that distinction clear.
I
Now,
can't do the show without you, so I would end the
I
show.
know. So they've never offered. I've never been asked. Question number 8 and 7 are very distinctly tied together. In number 8, we ask, will David Salo return as languages expert? Everybody knows that David Salo worked distinctly with Peter and Fran and Philippa on the 6 Middle-earth films that they made for New Line Cinema. So question number 9.
But before David Salo is different than the linguist expert that helped the actors speak, and I got a little confused
No,
there
the
because
person that's a dialect coach.
that's a dialect coach.
A
And
dialect coach, you mean Andrew Jack? Yeah,
yeah,
Andrew Jack
Andrew
was the
Jack.
original dialect coach. May he rest in peace, on the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay,
Yes, he's the dialect coach. He's not a languages expert. No,
in, so
dialect coach.
explain that. So I want the best performance out of people, and Andrew Jack was critical in getting the actors to perform. You're saying that the David Salo, the languages expert, is an expert in Tolkien languages at the
Yes.
script phase?
Well, if they're going to need certain languages that are represented on fabric, on rings, or on swords, like all the stuff that we've seen in these 23 posters, then yeah, they need a languages expert to get that right for the sake of the costume and the weapons department, and also for the script department, so that,
Of Gondor in the chat room is saying in his interview with Nerd of the Rings, he said no, Amazon had not reached out to David Salo.
okay, that is answered then.
And so, and separate from that, you mentioned Andrew Jack. We Andrew Jack was one of the first notable people to die of COVID in early 2020, and he was celebrated around the world. He'd worked on James Bond. He'd worked on all these franchises, but most importantly, he worked on Lord of the Rings. So we lost dialect coach
We
Andrew
then had
Jack.
we did Andrew Jack. Then we had the Hobbit trilogy had Leith McPherson,
Yeah.
who worked as the dialect coach.
Here's the connection to Amazon's show.
Mhm.
Even though we lost Andrew Jack because he was working on a series in London in the UK to in 2020 to COVID, Andrew Jack's wife, who is also an accomplished dialect coach, was in New Zealand working on Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So there's your connection. Andrew
very
Jack,
cool. Okay.
who helped Lord of the Rings, who worked on Lord of the Rings and all the actors on Lord of the Rings, his wife was on the new Lord of the Rings. I do not know if
I didn't know that.
if out of bereavement that if she left New Zealand and was she allowed back in to New Zealand because that was in the middle of COVID and New Zealand was super strict. I do not
wonder.
know if Andrew Jack's wife remained with the production, but it is our understanding that Andrew Jack's wife, the Lord of the Rings dialect coach, his dialect coach wife, was on. So that's a nice little continuity thing that might pan out. But we'll know more when the show comes out and we see the credits.
Okay. Yes, indeed, we will. I guess we will. I'm intrigued by that. I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me about that. Question number 9 is, what percentage of characters will be Tolkien canon versus newly created ones for the show? Looking at you, Evangeline Lilly. Looking at you, Tauriel. So,
Cliff, that's a tough and loaded question because Toriel was awesome, but what the studio mandated, the love triangle, kind of lessened her character and the strength of her character. But I think Toriel is awesome, and the problem is that we only have one original new character in Toriel to judge everything else on.
that's right. That's where it stands. Yeah, I know.
That's
yeah.
tough because Amazon is no doubt creating hundreds of new characters.
But yes, but everything that Amazon Studios is doing is in the shadow of what Peter Jackson achieved. Everything. And that's just a given state of things. I mean, forgive me, but that is the house that Jack built. In other words, they're in the shadow of the house that Peter Jackson built. Whatever they're trying to do, they're making their own unique effort to differentiate their show from what we've been hearing. The rumors are that they want this show to be distinct. But,
Princess Toy Nerd, I love that perspective. You may not have seen Toriel in the Hobbit books, but that doesn't mean she wasn't there.
Yeah, that's fine, and that's fine
it.
too. Well, we do want to know what percentage of characters are brand new and what are, written, and we'll be able to tell the difference.
That's a question that they cannot answer. I mean,
Well,
there's no win. There's no.
We will
winning.
know right away. The
well,
fandom
we'll
know more than anyone.
But
We'll
that's not really a question that they can fairly answer because whatever answer they give, it's going to there's no winning in an answer for that. They could say 2 new characters and people will be like, that's double what Peter Jackson did. This is already
No, it's not that bad.
Okay,
no, it's not
let's
that bad.
But
let's it is connected to chat. I might as well jump ahead. Question number 18. We might as well jump way down the list. 18 is, does this show connect with PJ's previous 6 films that are set in Middle Earth? And that's a simple yes or no, if they connect or not. If there's any, for example, when Daredevil suddenly showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home, everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, oh my gosh," or suddenly that character from the Netflix series is now canon within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And these are the kinds of things that the geeks are thinking. Are you going to make this canon with all the other 6 films that came before, or not?
The
You know,
interesting thing about Tolkien fandom right now is that it doesn't even have to be a character. It could be an object. It could be a sword that connects. Like
yeah,
just
that's the one. Narsil. It's Narsil that we want to see most of all, so that we know what it looks like. And if it's going to be the exact same design as Anduril Narsil, let's
Oh
find out.
boy, I have some
Um,
news for you, but
I
we'll
know
talk
you
about that
do.
later.
Question question number 10. It looks like this is shaping up to have the most diverse casting of any Tolkien adaptation, as the scope of the story expands across the planet of Arda. So, what do the showrunners have front of mind when presenting these new characters and cultures through a wider lens? That's definitely in the air, and that is the subject of a lot of consternation and debate and talk, a lot of talk right now with fans. Um,
Not with fans, to fans. I'm going to
to
argue
fan,
I'm going to argue this. There's a lot of debate that is pointed to fans and to Amazon,
but not
but
among them.
amongst
Not among them.
fans,
Yeah, it is. It is where you get to that really, really uncomfortable space where the internet is doing what it does, and that is amplifying, unnecessarily amplifying the voices of uh, a smaller group of people against the majority group of people, and it's kind of goofy. But the subject of diversity is on everyone's mind, and we're all talking about it right now. You've got fans who sit in the camp of this is totally cool by me. They're going to have all kinds of interesting people in the TV series because they're going all around the planet instead of being isolated in the European northwestern corner of Middle Earth. You're going to be all over the map into other regions of this fantasy world. So we might as well see lots of interesting things.
and I
Um,
promise you a fan that is reading the translated edition in Singapore does not visually see in his mind the same physical character traits that someone reading it in Wales does. Like that's the genius of Tolkien is that he's been translated into every language out there around the world. So fans and he's very intent on fans bringing their own perspectives and their own lived experiences into his stories. It's the old
yeah, yeah.
allegory versus all that other stuff.
Versus applicability.
Applicability.
Thank you for reminding everyone, class. It's the difference between allegorical structure and applicability. Yes. So, so we want to ask what the showrunners have front of mind when they're introducing us to this much bigger, canvas of Tolkien's world.
Right.
And the other type of uh, people who are responding with, they're just rage tubers who just want to do their negative coverage of everything, and you're not going to find that here. That's not the type of coverage we do, and it's certainly not what I'm interested in editorially. We want to celebrate Tolkien and have a great time with this fascinating new artistic representation of Tolkien. We're not here to, be all piss and vinegar over some nonsense.
And, and,
We're
and
here to have a good time. So
diversity is key to the lore. They're not exclusive.
there's
Like
yeah, there's
if you
there's
want to be
nothing.
true to the lore, you're having a diverse show.
Yeah, you're going to have all kinds of interesting things going on. And welcome to the 21st century. We'll leave it at that. Okay, welcome to the
That well,
21st
see
century.
that starts the arguments, Cliff. When you say stuff like that, because they're
Yeah.
like, Tolkien wrote it in the 1950s and the
Mhm.
40s, and Tolkien wrote it as a Catholic, and we know the church's position of things in the 1950s, so it shouldn't be like we won't get into that. But when you say like, welcome to the 21st
I
century,
have
no, welcome to the second age. That's the only thing. The
Okay,
Second Age
sure.
was more multicultural and more diverse than anything we know in the Third Age.
Well, it was the focus of what was written. If Tolkien had written a bunch of stories that went all over Arda into a lot of other different regions and places, and if Tolkien had followed the Blue Wizards, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would
Yeah.
just be there. However, Professor Tolkien kept his stories in a tightly focused, and I mean The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are rather tightly focused to a geography of a place that represents just that quadrant of land, not everywhere else around the planet. So, really, but, forgive me for saying it that way, but welcome to, Middle Earth, but it's really not Middle Earth. It's welcome to Arda. And perhaps it would benefit all of us to expand the scope of the way we think about this. And maybe it was what the producers and the writers are doing as well, that they're thinking about the larger scope of Arda, even to the point we might see it changed from a flat world to a round globe. Wouldn't
You
that be
know,
something
and
to see?
the manor just said Denzel just turned in the best Macbeth performance I've seen, and
Hmm.
that is true. Honestly,
Hmm.
if you guys check out the Tragedy of Macbeth by one of the Coen brothers, starring Denzel Washington, oh my gosh, I wish
Joel.
that was nominated for art direction or visual effects because the Tragedy of Macbeth is one of the most stunning films I've ever seen. It is brutalist architecture born
Mm.
into poetry of Shakespeare. I didn't think those two things would meld, but it's the best. It is one of the best Shakespearean films I've ever seen.
Mm.
I do recommend it. Anyway, continue. Cliff, number 11.
When you have many, many thousands of years of tumultuous events in the Second Age, when will the main timeline of the show focus on? Big one. That's a big, big, big one. The Second Age that we're talking about goes across a big, big canvas of time and locations and lots of events, big and small. Most of them big and tumultuous events in the Second Age. So, how did they choose to focus on what area of the Second Age, and where are we going to live for the 4 or 5 or 6 seasons where we're going to be living and breathing this series? Where in that
And
timeline are we
it's
going to be?
been it's question, and the reason this question keeps coming up, Cliff, is that Amazon has intentionally confused us because they told us it's welcome to the Second Age, and they showed us a Second Age map, and then they showed us a picture of the two trees from before the First Age. Like,
Indeed,
hang on, guys. There are no
indeed.
two trees in the Second Age, and there better not be.
You know what? At this point, we're looking at two trees, and we're looking at hobbits in the Third Age are now showing up in the Second Age, and no wonder it's confusing. So yeah, that's kind of like why we want to clarify some of these things. Question number 12: Is the illustrious and much adored John Howe involved beyond making the marketing map that we got in a tweet? So, is John Howe involved? Yes or no? Question number 13.
Well, and chat room, I want to know from you, how important would John Howe's involvement be to your excitement or the potential success of the show? Like, how important is John Howe, folks? That's really what we're getting at. Because I think there's a nice little, maybe not, maybe it's a age thing. Maybe some Gen Xers want John Howe, but zillennials are like, well, whatever. Like, just give us something
Mhm.
that looks cool. Um,
Yeah, hey, Sir Skrill rise up, John Howe stands. Yes, rise up. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
John Howe of Gondor says of John Howe loved Moria, and the fact is that we are going to see Moria in its heyday, in the height of Dwarven society, where you're going to see the
It's
halls of
not even
Dwar Delph.
called Moria. It's called Khazad-dûm at
I'm
this point.
calling it Moria.
No, that doesn't happen until centuries later when the Balrog shows up. Come on. Listen.
Continue.
Okay. Question number 13. Are the showrunners, Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne, fans of Tolkien? We know for sure that they wrote a Star Trek screenplay, but we'd love to know more about their personal tastes as geeks. So, yeah, are they geeks of the MCU? Are they Miyazaki geeks? Are they into Dragon Ball? Are they into Harry Potter? Star Trek? What is it that these guys are really going to geek out about? We want to know more about Patrick and JD. That's what we want to know. So, are they really fans of Tolkien? Now, this leads to question number 14. It's almost the exact same question. Are the accomplished people in the writer's room pre-existing Tolkien fans themselves? And we're talking about all these Breaking Bad writers who've worked on Hannibal and on Breaking Bad and, all
Game
this
of
stuff.
Thrones.
Yeah, are they also Tolkien fans? And we want to know. We want to know more about their geek cred, if you will. Now, question number 15, moving right along. Why did Amazon decide to leave New Zealand as a filming location, especially when it has become so synonymous with Middle Earth all this time? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did Amazon take all those government subsidies from New Zealand and promise to hire all of those painters and carpenters and fabric workers and all the hardcore people
For
doing the
multiple years.
stunt work and the equestrian horse work and the archery and they were all going to be hired for years and years and years, and then suddenly you pack up and go to the United Kingdom. Why did that happen?
And they said that it's because of COVID, but New Zealand is one of the top countries in the entire world to manage COVID.
That's right.
Like New Zealand is one of the shining stars of the world that says this is how it could be done well and done right. Like they have a stellar reputation. I think last week they had a record number of cases and those in the country, and that case load was 30. 30
Wow.
people got COVID last week. Meanwhile, the U.S. just passed 900,000 dead. So how can you say we're moving away from New Zealand because of COVID? It's like you're in the best country in the world to So what's the real reason? Come on.
We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, question number 16. Is Weta Workshop involved with the physical props and the weapons and costumes and practical sets? Not just Weta Digital. That's a big question. I know we are looking at these beautiful character posters and wondering if any of them were crafted by people we know from Weta Workshop. We're going to get to the posters next. Hopefully, we've got to get past this list of questions.
And guys, if you weren't paying attention, this weekend, over the weekend, Weta Digital updated their website with a big "We worked on Lord of the Rings." Like Weta Digital confirmed it, and then 12 hours later, they deleted that off their website. So we know 100%, 110%, Weta has accidentally spoiled that they worked on the show. The question is, but Weta Digital was never in question, Cliff. Why do fans care about Weta Workshop?
Because of the quality. Because, like, Captain Faramir, Weta Workshop showed their quality. That's why. Is that the answer? That is the answer.
That is the answer.
Question number 17. Is Industrial Light and Magic involved with their Mandalorian digital screen set technology? And I've heard and I have reported on this live stream that yes, ILM sent a special team of people to set a whole thing up for them down there. Very exciting, very intriguing.
Are you impressed with what you see with Boba Fett and the Mandalorian?
Yes, everything that I see is very impressive. Very much so. It's great stuff. Question number 18, we already did. Is this show going to connect with PJ's previous 6 films? Now, going on to question 19. Was Tolkien scholar and Tolkien author Tom Shippey, was his departure from the production amicable? I really want to know. We all
And
really want to know.
everyone wants
We
to know.
all want to know
This
because
isn't just a casual question, though. This is like
not at all.
very.
This is a more serious question
Why is this serious, Cliff?
because we've heard through various rumors and grapevines many reports that are similar that Tom Shippey was not treated respectfully, and the fans, myself being one of the many fans in the fandom, appreciate his scholarship and his authorship being applied if he was there to apply the gift of his scholarship so that the production was the beneficiary of his scholarship, then why would things turn sour and why would they not treat him respectfully if they were the beneficiaries of his scholarship? And that is the reason behind a lot of people bringing that question to me.
So if it's unamicable or if nobody wants to talk about it, is that a deal breaker? I mean, how important is Shippey to your enthusiasm?
Well, it's kind of like, well, there's a baseline level of treating people, and we're looking to see if the production is, creating goodwill, in the sense of open-handed goodwill towards the fans by treating all the scholars, and they are the leaders in our fandom. In our fandom, it's actually the scholars who are the actual leaders who have some sense of leadership. The people who can teach us Elvish and Sindarin, and the people who can teach us the differences between what Tolkien wrote and what did not get published while he was alive, and understanding all the nuances and difference between his effort and his execution of his amazing skill, while acknowledging that these people, these scholars, are a special breed of people who know a lot and can help the show benefit a lot from their input. So, if we're hearing bad vibes and bad treatment about it in the background, we don't want that hovering around. It's kind of like knowing that the fans and the scholarship who we look up to are being treated well. That's what it's about. It's pretty basic.
Chrissy in the chat room says they really need to be transparent with fans about the scholars. Mm-hmm. And Barbara says scholars are critical to the excellence of the show. And I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like we know Tom Shippey is no longer involved in production. Like, yes, our parents got divorced, but does that mean we'll never see Dad again? Like, it's the unknown, and also critically, and Cliff, you almost touched on it. This is not just a movie where it's like write it, film it, done. We're talking about at least 5 seasons and 10 years worth of future scripts, future productions, future everything. And if you say that you burned Tom Shippey in the first season before the first season, I'm already not looking forward to season 4. Like, I've already written off the next few seasons because I'm like, if they can't even get Tom Shippey, who's to hope that season 4 is not going to be a season 8 Game of Thrones just off the rails?
Yeah.
That's why we're terrified.
I get it. I get that. Yeah. And I understand the amplification of that. I get that. Absolutely.
I love my analogies. Okay, continue.
Question number 20. End credits songs. We had some real gems in the forms of end credit songs. Oscar winner Annie Lennox, Oscar nominee Enya, and let us not forget all the fire that Ed Sheeran saw, because he saw some fire. Anyways, with this TV show, might we expect something similar with end credit songs at the end of each season? That was question 20. And now question 21. Well,
I'm sure... and every season should have an Enya song. You know what? Just let Enya, she's already written the music. She's singing it amongst herself in her own castle. She's singing the songs of the elves. Just hire Enya.
Enya and bring Billy Boyd. Bring Billy Boyd to come in and do a cappella songs for us as well. Okay?
Billy Boyd in duet with Enya might break my brain.
That sounds pretty cool. Question 21. the Lurtz versus Azog thing. Will we get more practical makeup versus CGI creatures? Big question, okay? And judging from the release of the title reveal, which was purely forged out of real metal, poured over compressed sandstone, and it was all physical effects, maybe they will give us more physical effects, and it won't look like the Hobbit trilogy, but we'll see. Question number 22. The stories of the Second Age are notably bereft of giant magical creatures like dragons and balrogs. So, is there a desire to include fantastical beasts and houses of dragons per the recent wave of popular TV? So, if they're interjecting hobbits into the Second Age, and if they're potentially bringing in the blue wizards into the Second Age, are they also going to bring in giant creatures and things that aren't really written about in the appendix of the book?
I want to
I
see
wonder what they're going to do.
dragons. I want to see dragons and balrogs, and more of Beorn's type people, shapeshifters.
The shape changers, or they're called skin changers. The skin changers.
Oh, I want skin changers.
That's what Gandalf calls them in The Hobbit.
Is
skin changers.
Anatar a skin changer?
No, he has a Maiar. He's a Maiar spirit. Okay, now, last question. And this is probably one of the biggest ones. To what degree is Howard Shore involved, since one of the most desired components of this entire enterprise is the returning embrace of his music? Boom. And there's our 23 questions. What do you think, guys?
That is, and that's a great list, Cliff, because I think those 23 questions kind of capture the current pulse of fandom. What our nerves are fraying, what everything is like, what's top of mind right now, and getting some satisfactory answers, and even answers that maybe we didn't expect, but just getting responses to these 23 questions, I think will go a long way into building trust and be like, we are Amazon, you have the keys to the kingdom, but us fans, Tolkien scholars, everybody, like, we are a community. And that's, Weta Workshop and Peter Jackson did a great job of making us feel like we were part of the process, even though we had nothing to do with the decisions being made. And we had no input until we did, and they took Arwen out of Helm's Deep. But that was one of the relationship builders of just like, they listen to us even though they don't have to.
I'm adjusting my light. It's a little bit better now. There you go. That's a better light. Yeah, I agree.
So I appreciate the support in the chat room. Carrie says, love the list, guys. You can check it out at theonering.net. Again, we've posted all 23 questions, and Cliff has a big tweet thread that you can find on Twitter and retweet the question that most interests you. Maybe tag Lord of the Rings on Prime so they get to see it.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I agree that there's a lot of trust to be earned, but Amazon Studios has the keys to the kingdom, as you just said. But if they want our trust, it's not just going to be blindly given, completely blind. We're not going to give our trust completely blindly. So interacting with the fandom and taking interviews, hint, hint, and engaging with us to talk and answer about these questions, hint, double hint, blink. I'm blinking at the camera now. This is where it's at, because then that will build tons of trust where we start to realize, oh, that's how they're thinking about Tolkien.
Right. That's and it can set our expectations, not expectations, but it can set our mindset to like, okay,
let me just say, we'll have a better understanding of who they brought in and what kind of approach these guys have. And if they tell us, you know what, I'm a hardcore geek of early Conan the Barbarian films and Basil Polydorus, those amazing songs and the way the music was written for fantasy in the 1980s. And if Mr. Payne and Mr. McKay come to me and they say, oh, I really feel strongly connected to this fandom or that fandom, whatever it is, in between a Wizard of Earthsea and they read Ursula K. Le Guin, or maybe they read The Mists of Avalon, or maybe they like T.H. White, and their story of King Arthur. Whatever it is they geek out about when they were kids, I would like to know. For me and my brother, it was Doctor Strange comics and Conan the Barbarian and the 1977 animated The Hobbit. That was what we were geeking out about as
Well,
kids.
Falderis in the chat room
I want to
is
learn about what makes these guys tick because they are the showrunners. For the
Falderis in the
Western,
chat room says there's one important question missing. Where the heck is my boy Celeborn? Well, the trailer might show us. Who knows? The other thing that's interesting about these showrunners is they are in control. And when Peter Jackson was doing his thing, we had a history of Peter Jackson films. We knew he was into big, gory horror comedy fest. We knew what
Yes.
Peter Jackson liked as an
did.
independent filmmaker.
And that made it no less weird. It made it a little bit more weird. I mean, we had to figure out his approach, his tonal approach to The Frighteners and Heavenly Creatures and a bunch of zombie splatter movies. And that's what we knew about Peter Jackson before going in. Now, look at Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne. We don't know anything about their Star Trek screenplay. And I know a lot about New Trek versus Next Generation versus Original Trek. I know all these different formations of Star Trek because I'm a big Trekkie fan, believe it or not. And I love the new stuff with Captain Picard and hello, season 2 of Picard. I'm all about this, but we don't know what they wrote. I want to know whether Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne are in the J.J. Abrams world of Star Trek, or if they're in the Gene Roddenberry world of Star Trek. I know the difference, but I don't know because I haven't talked to them yet. You see what I mean? That's what the fans want to know. Are you a J.J. Abrams Trek, or are you a Gene Roddenberry Trek kind of guy? That's what we need to know.
And,
really.
and the other thing is that because there's been no access to anyone involved with production, unfortunately, the only person to point to is Uncle Jeff Bezos. So, every announcement there's a picture of Jeff.
Don't call him that again.
Like let's it's really important to us fans if we can focus on someone else. Please.
Yeah, please. Yes, I agree. Let's get back to what's important, okay? We want to have an engagement with the people creating the show, and there's a precedent. Peter Jackson was very, very open and generous back 20 years ago, and he set the precedent, and we don't have that now. They're not matching that watermark. And that was maybe a high watermark that was set by Mr. Jackson, maybe, but they're not meeting that watermark in engaging with the fans, and we want to know more details. So that's why we presented these questions today. Yes, Robert Hill says posters. Do we have posters to talk about?
We do.
Yeah. Do we have any guests joining us to talk about posters?
I think I see. I hit admit, but it's like hanging. It's not even letting in. So if there's any torn staff that want to join in the conversation about posters, jump in now. Cliff, have you been keeping up? Varking, are you in there? Do you want to talk about posters? I haven't kept up with all the discussion because Amazon dropped this on me on Friday, and I've kind of been stressed.
I've watched Matt, Nerd of the Rings. I've watched other poster responses from other YouTubers, and I've been Voice of Geekdom and the Clueless Fangirl have been, along with Signum University and the really, really wonderful Corey Olson, the Tolkien professor, who has had incredible...
Nerd of the Rings and the Tolkien professor had great videos.
Yeah, well, they went to great lengths. We had our on-staff member, Demosthenes, who did a really, really great analysis of the sword with the blazing round sun, the sun symbol in the hilt of the sword. So, and a lot of other good articles have appeared. So let's find out.
All right,
Um,
Varking, I see you in the chat. I'm a DM you on Twitter. The link. And I think I see Kathy has joined, and yeah, okay, that should work. So let's let Kathy in, and
yes.
Varking, if you want to join. And if you're other staff member watching on Discord, you should have a staff email with the code, the Zoom code. So check on that. I think it was the week ahead email. We have so many people. Hello, Kathy. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hello, Kathy. How
Oh,
are
no
you?
audio. Let's see.
No audio?
I do you hear her?
No, not in my
No,
earphones. I
I
don't.
don't. I don't. I don't see your microphone. Change your microphone. Maybe you have to click the arrow next to microphone and choose a different input. See, this is the technical jiggery pokery that I don't want happen when a million people are watching us on Sunday. This is why I'm so stressed, guys. Signum University Signum is already on 2 full days of poster discussion and aren't through them all. I know there's going to be so many other places to get a way deeper poster discussion, but we would be remiss to not do anything today because there's so much to talk about, and I feel like the next couple weeks are just going to be amazing. Yes, Zoom, Varking. We are on
Here
Zoom.
we are. Here we are.
Yeah.
And
And if Nerd of the Rings is watching, you can join too. Yes. Let's see here if I can bring this up.
thank you everybody for joining us, and thanks for um, reminding us of how interesting it is trying to bring everybody back together. We are live, and this is why we're doing it live.
Cathal in the chat room says, "If I'm
happening.
Justin, if you're stressed, take some time out and read The Hobbit." Do you think that's gonna de-stress me? Maybe reading The Hobbit. Still can't hear you, Kathy. Maybe restart Zoom. It's like it's not even picking up your mic. And we've got John Tukish joining us. Hello, John. Longtime staff member
Hello
of the
there.
OneRing.net, and you've seen him at many of our events and parties and cons and stuff like that. Great to have you here to chat about the posters. Sigger Boy says, "Get Kathy a whiteboard so she can diagram everything she's about to say."
Oh, look who's here to help! Look who's here to help run the show.
Yeah, you have a cat of Minas Tirith.
Look who's here to help run the show.
All right, so I'm going to turn off my camera and I'm going to turn on the poster cam.
Hello.
There we go. Listen to some Enya. John, how deep have you gone with the posters this week?
I'm having some technical issues over here. Sorry.
There you go. I hear you.
I just heard you. I just heard you.
The Discord video as well. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stay on mute. Pardon.
Yeah, I hear you.
One thing I can say about the posters, though, before I do that, I think there's a lot of nods to content that is not just in the appendices. There is no way they're covering all this ground just limited to the canon of what's in the appendices. So I think they've got their hands on more.
Really? Your first reaction was like, this is not just appendices?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you are, Kathy. Great to hear you.
Yay.
So so the first thing I would that the rumors are these two posters are rumored. I guess I should table this. Everything we're saying are rumors. Amazon has confirmed nothing. They didn't tell anybody who these characters are or anything like that. And Cliff, we don't have any inside information on this. Like
No.
this is raw. So the first thing that people say that I've been reading on Reddit and in our Discord is these two posters are a dwarven king and queen.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that too. And the first reason I thought that there was a dwarven culture involved when I looked at the picture on the right was not the specks of gold dust on her fingers, but the triangles. It was the shape of triangles. Nobody in Middle Earth does that. Nobody would, but the dwarves would. I just, for some reason, I thought, who would be most interested in the shapes of geometry like that? And I thought dwarven heritage. And you can see, look on the poster on the left. I mean, that's obviously a dwarven hammer or an axe, might be a hammer, and those are dwarven runes on that weapon. But the embroidery of his leather armor is very, very dwarven. The shape, the geometric shapes, you're looking at a forced geometry of things, and I thought, wow, so cool.
Now, what, Cliff? Call me a simpleton. Why would Tolkien be that simple as to only give axes to dwarves? I mean, is this kind of like too on the nose?
No, I mean, but those were in that type of fantasy storytelling, in that world that you're building, that's the type of thing. You make a distinction that, a tall, slender elf would have a bow, and a short, stocky dwarf might have an axe or a hammer. That's fantasy storytelling 101.
Huh.
I mean,
Are there any axes of named note similar to Anduril and Narsil?
well, the dwarves that are mentioned in the Icelandic the Elder Edda, the poetry and the heraldic sagas of the Eddas and the Icelandic poetry. All that stuff includes dwarves working in the mountains with anvils and hammers and tongs, and that comes from that. That's where that comes from.
Got my volume and everything sorted out. And Cliff, you're right. There is a great deal of content in the appendices about the dwarves. They go through all the generations from, our first dwarf and all the way down to Thorin Oakenshield. So
Yeah.
the sons of Durin and Durin himself.
Is there any tell that this is Durin, like a line of Durin, and not just some random low-level digger dwarf?
Mm.
Possibly. Did you guys see Nancy's post about the translation of the runes on the hammer?
I saw it go online. I didn't get to read it before coming live on the air.
Go ahead and tell us.
Well, she goes through all of the translation of the Cirith runes, but she comes away with awake, sleeping stone. And then she gives two hypotheses. One, that it is a reference to all creating the dwarves and them being that they will be awakened once the elves have awoken. And the second one is that they use their axes, their hammers and things to basically awaken the gems and the gold in the stone as they're working their magic.
Otaku Senpai in the chat room says the gold dust suggests royalty. Do you think that's a fair call? Because I don't agree with that. Like, I would think the lowest level of dwarves, like the guys mining and doing the hard labor, would be the ones with gold dust. Do you think royalty is just like, washing their face in gold? Like, I don't think that's true.
All I could think of when I saw that was simply how much gold must be in that mine that it's just all over them. Because they're both wearing very fine clothing.
I think that's a great point. This could also be a convention of the day. It may be fashionable. It may be a statement. And when you look at those hands, I don't know, those don't look like miners' hands to me. And I think there's a beard behind those hands. I'm not so convinced that
Yeah.
that is fabric. So this could be a long,
That is definitely a
illustrious
beard. 100% that's a beard.
And the jewelry accompanying it and embedded in it, this gemstone in the bracelet. This is not a mine worker.
Is there significance to the length of your beard in Dwarven culture?
Absolutely. The more rich and full your beard, the more venerable, aged, revered, and wise you are.
Well, that's excellent because it looks like a dwarf has just joined us. Will Smith has joined us. Welcome to the show. Is his audio on?
Is that the fresh dwarf of Moria? What's going on there?
It's definitely the yarn dwarf.
Right. Yeah, I'm still not getting any audio. It doesn't even say that you have a mic available to turn on. It says Will Smith is connecting to audio.
Yeah, I forgot to turn.
Is this the Fresh Prince reboot of the reboot?
Oh, you can hear now.
This is awesome. We need more cosplay on cam.
Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
Hello. So you guys were talking real quick about dwarven royalty and why they would have like gold on their hands. It could be viewed as like a status symbol for them to have the gold on their hands.
A status symbol?
Like the top
Exactly.
end dwarves would have gold sprayed on their hands to show that they're, above some of the other ones. You have the people who mine it and then the people who wear it.
And they
Okay.
have so much gold, they can just decorate their skin with it whenever they feel so inclined.
Yeah,
See,
because they're going to get more shortly.
I disagree. There's no way that these guys, dwarves, are that greedy that they would wash their hands and face with gold dust just because they can. I mean, really?
Have you
Is that where we're
met-
going with this
Have you
adaptation?
Heck
met
yeah.
the dwarves with the dragon sickness? I'm sorry, but you're wrong, dude.
Okay,
My thoughts
okay.
exactly, Kat.
Definitely greedy enough.
Are any of those rings on the king's hand the rings that corrupt?
No.
So
There's
this
no
is
No gemstones. Yeah, no gemstones.
also, I think I'm just hazard to say that all of these rings are pre the creation of the rings that Sauron corrupted and the Elvish rings. So these might be precursor rings or, quite the fashion. And also I note that the Ring of Barahir is missing from all of these posters.
Okay. So we've established that these are possibly two dwarven kings and queens. Do you think these are unrelated, like different dwarven royalties from different lands or caves or whatever you want to call it?
I love that idea. Clearly there's a redheaded group of dwarves and there's this silver blonde or whatever group of dwarves. What does Will Smith say about that?
I believe that the two that we have images on here are 100% related. And I think that gold on the hands is that tell.
Okay.
But I'm hoping in the show that we do see different tribes or different groups of dwarves. They're my favorite by far. That Warhammer is amazing.
And the one with the triangles, that's fabric. I've got a high res version of that picture, and that's fabric. It's got jewels embedded in it, but it's fabric. It's a nice crepe fabric. Drape's really nice.
I thought the dwarves of Moria, Cliff, you can yell at me later, were famous for mining mithril. Why would this be gold? And do you think these are Moria related dwarves because it's gold, not mithril?
You got to train yourself to stop saying Moria and say Khazad-dûm instead.
Khazad-dûm.
Well, answer the question.
Well, I think that's a great point. And
It's a very good question. Maybe they want us to be surprised by the discovery of mithril at some point. Maybe we're all being led to believe gold dust, and everybody's singing, Stevie Nicks, Gold Dust Woman in the background. When they maybe it's just a loose like reference to digging your hands into the riches of the earth, maybe. But if it's not mithril on display just yet, it's because it's being withheld as a surprise, I would think.
Tukish, have we ever seen a Durin put to screen, and is this what you had in your mind's eye?
I mean, ever is a big question. I'm trying to dig all the way to things like Ralph Bakshi and.
Well, let's just stick with Peter Jackson. Did he ever put a Durin to screen?
No.
I mean, beyond, there may be a Durin in the Seven Dwarves that we see taking the rings, but not the original Durin. That's going way back in the histories.
So is this what you imagined, a Durin, a redheaded Durin?
Honestly, the first generation Durin, I don't imagine as excessively wealthy. These guys were the scrappers. They got created and then stashed away, underneath the mountains for I don't remember how long. So I'm not sure that wealth would have occurred in the first generation. And another thought as well is, Moria had to be founded and had to be excavated and dug out and created, and that took a long time. So we may see that kind of develop either here through the magic of time travel or perhaps in some other series. But
Time travel. I just want to see a TARDIS floating through Weredelf.
I like this notion of gold first because, the dwarves get to grow. We get to see those kingdoms grow and come into their power and wealth.
Do these fake pictures get you more excited for seeing dwarves in the show? Will?
Oh, 100%. I mean, they could have basically showed me nothing, and I would get excited for dwarves in the show, the battles they could have, the items that they could craft. But seeing like a gritty dwarven hand, the long red beard that goes all the way to the base of that hammer right there, the hammer itself, the rune inscription with the awake sleeping stone, everything about this got me super hyped up, and it's my favorite image of the entire batch.
Do you think it's during the third or during the fourth?
I'm going to go with during the third.
Yeah, flip a coin.
Well, no, it's like so one is the king and one is the prince waiting to be king. And there's some drama.
I'm still
that
sticking with
there.
third. Okay. And like we were talking about earlier, being drawn to gold and having to come into wealth, they still have to come into wealth during the show, and that's why it's gold on their hands and not mithril.
Got it. All right, let's move on. The next two posters.
Oh.
What do we got here? Are they both elven? Are they human? Or were they dwarves? What are we looking at?
Well, the silver one is definitely an elf. I think the gold one is, because when you look at the torso, the way that the fabric folds, yes, it harks back to the design features of Peter Jackson's movies, but Elrond wore, in fact, actually the first stage elves, not the first stage, the last alliance of men and elves, the battle that we see in the very beginning of the film, that's what their costumes looked like. Their armor looked like that gold guy.
I think those are good arguments, Kathy. And to me, when I see all that gold, the first thing that comes to mind is Ar-Pharazôn, because he was so obsessed. But then again, lots of people were in Middle Earth obsessed with gold. So I think it's a toss-up if that's elf or human on the right. And I'm with Kathy on the left. That's got to be an elf.
And I'm looking at a close-up.
Did you say Ar-Pharazôn? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I was just going to say, there are actually letters embroidered into the sleeves on the gold one. But it's only a couple letters, so it's really hard to tell if it actually says a message.
Oh, well, that certainly would not be Ar-Pharazôn with Elvish in his embroidery.
Well, I don't know if it's Elvish or not. I mean, it looks like, the letter R, the letter T. So I don't know. There's not enough. You have to look at it in a high resolution picture to see that you can see that it's letters, but not what they are.
Cliff, there's a lot of rings on this
Mm-hmm.
dude. Is that gives me a sign of royalty? Was Elrond royalty? I mean, is he blinged out?
No, not in this part of the story. No. In this part of the story, it would be Gil-galad, who is the High King of the Noldor, and Elrond is not the Lord of anything. Elrond, half-elven, in the Second Age, has just chosen to be an elf, and his brother has chosen to be a human, and he's just hanging around with Gil-galad being his major domo of sorts, or his chamberlain, perhaps. But no, it's not. That doesn't look like Elrond stuff to me, with all the gold
No.
rings. It really doesn't.
No.
I agree with Nerd of the Rings take that the silver armor on the left-hand poster with the two trees so distinctly interwoven in the blade that they're carrying is Galadriel. That just looks and feels like Morfydd Clark right there as Galadriel on the left. On the right, all the rings to me might suggest Ar-Pharazôn, the Númenórean king. I'm not thinking elves. I'm thinking, Númenórean because he was referred to as the Golden, was he not? And that has been speculated by many others online as well.
I think when I first saw this, that picture on the left, that is badass battle Galadriel that we've been dying to see.
Yeah.
100%. Those hands are feminine. That sword
And-
is elvish of the two trees. You can see the silver and the gold spun around the top of the sword. Someone that's old enough to be connected to the light of the two trees, the silver and the gold.
Yes.
Like, this is Galadriel in her full battle armor. And boy, am I excited.
Yes. I mean, somebody in the Discord has already made that dagger.
What, like 3D printed?
No, she
Wow, how cool is that?
foam, a little stick, and Warbler, and painted it, and she's made a really good copy of it already.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's in the costumes channel, if you want to see it.
Speaking of Discord, I've got some input from chatters there.
Yeah.
So Lady Nico's got a theory that the person in gold here could be Gil-galad or Celebrimbor.
Mhm.
And
Very much.
we're
Could
looking.
be.
Go ahead, Cliff.
No, I was saying yes, it could be. I agree.
And Durin Deathless believes we're looking at a short sword here, not necessarily a knife, but this has potential to be a short sword.
Yeah.
Not a letter opener, but something better.
That's right. The letter opener from who had that collection? The Sting letter opener. Sorry.
Oh. And did you notice in the handle below her hand, there are 3 pearls? And I'm wondering if that is sort of like an homage to the Silmarils.
Explain that. What do you mean? How many Silmarils are there?
3.
Really?
3.
Yes.
That
Justin,
is so
read
genius.
the
Kathy.
Silmarillion.
Beautiful.
No, this is
Read
why
the
we're doing this stream,
Silmarillion.
Cliff. Stop. Stop. This is why you are here. To
What
speak
about-
intelligently.
What if person in gold here is actually stupid sexy Sauron, as the name is going around?
Anatar.
Of Gondor believes this could be Anatar as an advisor to Ar-Pharazôn.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah.
So are we-
That's a good speculation.
I
too.
think between the 2 trees on the hilt and the 3 dots, maybe that might be Silmarils. I think we're 100%.
Well, they're not Silmarils because the Silmarils were
Yeah, they represent. Yeah,
yeah, but
100
representation. Yeah.
100%. This is Galadriel, and on the right, No, there isn't a consensus.
That actually of Gondor is correct. He would be called Sauron at that point in the story when Sauron was personally brought back as a prisoner to the island continent of Numenor. He would no longer be using the name Anatar at that point in time. He would have been
Yes.
fully revealed and no longer had the need for that ruse. That's
Good
true.
correction.
And
That's
who
true,
was
yes.
the character? Demosthenes. He posted that story about the sun sword, and because
We're getting there. Hold on.
well, no. It's just you'll notice on the Golden Guide there are two things holding up. Part of his trusses and like.
Oh, those are sun.
Yeah, those are sunbursts, or are they starbursts? It's
Mm.
kind of hard to tell. Well, no, it's not.
Oh, sunburst and starburst.
Yeah, they're either one or the other. But if we're going with sigils, then does that make it more? Gonna have to go back and find his story to see who he thought that was.
And you said people were thinking it's Celeborn or Gil-galad.
No, Celebrimbor, the maker of the magic rings.
Do you think this is the hand of a ringsmith?
Makes sense. It would explain the copious amounts of rings. If that's Celebrimbor, then okay, it fits. But I was thinking Ar-Pharazôn myself.
He has
But
a good
it's my
job
gut.
then.
They're both great interpretations, really.
Dems, I forgot that he took the story down because he wasn't entirely sure if his theory was right about Sun Sword guy. About
right.
the stars. But
We got two more here. I looked at the thing in the left and I said, a lightsaber?
you would.
Hmm.
With a
I
heavy
love the little
elvish
city on the
flavor.
top. That citadel or building or whatever on the top is very cool.
I agree, Kathy.
Carry on,
It is very
continue.
cool, and everybody online, including my instincts, have kicked in to say that is Gondolin, the representation of Gondolin on the end of that staff. But it might be a scepter. It might be a scepter. It might be a staff. It does not look like the hilt of a weapon. I'm not going to go with the speculation it's a weapon.
It's
But
a
that's
scepter.
definitely-
There is no
Described as a
hilt.
scepter.
Yeah.
it is
What if it's a
definitely
walking stick?
a reference to Gondolin, even if it's that. Even if it's a walking stick, then
Gondolin
great.
in exile.
It is Gondolin all over that. I agree with Robert Hill and others in the internet who have identified that.
Well, and the thing that's real fun because somebody is there a scepter that actually has a name, something for ruling in one of those countries? Because someone gave it a name, and it started with an A, and that's all I can remember.
Armenelos.
Yeah, that.
Well,
Or
there's also
Anuminas, maybe?
there's the scepter of Anuminas. That's
so-
right.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
Tukish is correct. The scepter of Anuminas is the one that we're most familiar with, but that's all Third Age stuff.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all Third Age stuff. Not who knows
right.
what this scepter could
All
be.
right, what's the significance of Gondolin, Cliff? Like, what is that? Is that
Gondolin,
ahead.
Gondolin is the great elven city that existed in the First Age. Some of the best stories in the Silmarillion are centered around this fantastic city that was founded and built in 116 of the First Age by the High Elves, the Noldor. It was a hidden city located approximately right in the smack middle of Beleriand, and it was founded by Turgon the Wise, a Noldoran king in the early First Age. It endured the longest of all of the Noldoran kingdoms in exile, lasting nearly 4 centuries during the Years of the Sun. And it's a big part of culture and Elvish history. The destruction of Gondolin and the fall of Gondolin is one of the big tragedies that is detailed in the Silmarillion in great detail.
And it's got its own book, The Fall of Gondolin, which you can order on
Yeah,
Amazon.
and it involves Glorfindel. It involves Glorfindel, and he fought during the fall of Gondolin, and he defended the elves who were retreating. And
Elrond is descended from Gondolin elves?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
No, Elrond that's a different lineage.
All right, so this is Noldor elves. So that you're saying
Yes.
that this staff would be carried, would possibly be carried by a Noldorin elf. And have we seen
Yeah.
Noldorin elves before in Peter Jackson's movies?
Yeah, Galadriel being the main one.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I
Yep.
need to correct myself, and I'm interrupting, but I misspoke because Elrond is absolutely part of Gondolin lineage.
Yeah, he
Excuse
is.
me.
Yeah, he is.
Oops.
He is part of Gondolin lineage. So maybe this, I don't know. Maybe we don't know. I don't know exactly who would be so directly connected to Gondolin in the Second Age.
Who would
Sure
be
is
walking
worthy.
around with this? Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
it's
and the
worthy
thing
of
that's
speculation.
interesting about it is the costume behind is it's a nice costume, but it's not a really rich or what you would consider a high or a royal costume.
Mhm.
So it's almost like this might be a steward or a chief of staff to someone else who's a noble. But I don't know if they would be carrying what looks like something that would tell you that it's a person who's in charge of something, in charge of that building.
What about Turgon
What really? Do you think
or a refugee from Gondolin?
could be?
You know,
But
he
Turgon doesn't survive into the Second Age.
but he's allowed to leave. Doesn't he leave and then return? Or I mean, he's not captive within the confines permanently. Like he gets out. So
Well, after here's what I think is connecting us from Turgon to Gil-galad. Okay, if this is Gil-galad himself, it's because during the fall of Gondolin, when Turgon died, it was Gil-galad who received the kingship of the Noldor.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
so it really could be that we're looking at Gil-galad, who is retaining this scepter, which represents the stewardship that he got from Turgon during that whole horrifying episode in the First Age. So if this is a holdover into the Second Age from a major historical event in the First Age, we might be looking at Gil-galad himself.
What
right
about
here, right now?
what about Turin? What do you think about that? Maybe a gift to Turin as he was traveling, although it'd be a little too revealing.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we've got to the show has to establish a relationship with Gil-galad having an elven kingdom where Elrond and Gil-galad first tell Anatar, no, we don't want you around here. Don't come a knocking on our door. We don't want to make magic rings with you. Because then Anatar has to shift his focus hundreds of miles away over in Eregion and make friends with Celebrimbor and Galadriel instead.
Let me posit this. Are these two
seriously
posters Elrond and Elros?
It
No,
could be.
I don't know.
I just want to
Maybe.
chime in and say
Please chime in. Yes.
the one that is a really awesome staff or walking stick, whatever we're calling it, and that's hard for me to say because I don't want to support anything elven as a dwarf. But the person who's holding it in these images doesn't necessarily have to be the person who's receiving the item. They're kind of holding it. We already acknowledge it's not a weapon, and they're holding it like you would when you're speed walking, like you're trying to deliver this with some sense of urgency to somebody. It could be whoever's going to deliver it to one of these characters that you keep bringing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the fact that the costume does not look like a royal person or even an elf I mean, the costume on the other side with all that velvet, that looks more elven.
I like this Elrond theory. Although there's elvish, isn't there elvish in the scroll there?
Marking. What's been the thing on the guy in the red? Has Reddit had any theories?
Yeah,
comes
I
to the
think they
translation,
took this scroll, flipped it upside down, zoomed in on it, and it was like King's Road view from south or something like that. Don't quote me on it, but it's close. I'll look it
That's
up.
it. Yeah, Kings
Yeah,
Road
Oh,
view from the south.
nailed
You're
it.
right.
Dwarven
and then
knowledge.
it's also got pictures, like an actual picture
How
of what looks like
powerful dwarven knowledge.
a hallway or something like that. It's actually got a picture. So yeah.
Yes, you're right, Kathy. Yes,
So-
it has all that too.
Elrond and Olorin Gray in the chat room says, quote, I think this is from the books. The scepter of the kings was lost with Ar-Pharazôn in the destruction of Numenor in the Second Age. But Elendil, the last lord of Andúni, took his scepter with him when he escaped.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So that
He did.
Nice.
that staff is lost
Elendil.
in. Is that Ar-Pharazôn?
Well,
Oh.
it's also gold. It's just
Elendil.
not bright gold.
Hmm.
This
do you
definitely
like-
looks like a traveler or a wanderer.
So Elrond and Elros, do you like that? Do you like those odds, John?
You know, it grabbed me when you first said that, but I do love this theory of Elendil because I think this is a wanderer who is some kind of a refugee. So either from Numenor or Gondolin.
Well, and if you look at the ring on his finger, it's a very plain ring.
A little bit rough. Yeah, I was wondering, what are
Yeah.
thoughts about that ring?
Yeah, it's a rough ring. And looking in close up, the staff looks like it's a painted wood. And this is going to sound funny because this was the first thing, besides the fact that I noticed it looked like a building on top of it, was if you saw the movie National Treasure, where they found a scrimshaw pipe, and it turned out to be a key for like a secret building. And all I can think of when I look at that with those two wings on the side and that is like, that's going to fit into something and open it.
Yeah. Cliff, Celebrimbor on the right. Agree? Disagree?
No. No, I
Why
don't.
not?
I don't think. Mm-mm.
No.
I'm not sure. I think the person who's being presented as a lore master might be a new character here, and we don't even know who it is.
Okay. All right, let's move to the next two. Speaking of,
Oh, that shirt. Oh, I love that shirt. I don't even know what it is. It looks like wood, but it folds at the belt, and I want to see that thing moving. I need to see that moving because I don't know if it's armor or if it's a really cool three-dimensional design on a shirt.
Kathy, you had some great analysis about the image we're seeing here.
Oh yeah, the Green Man. Yeah, it screams Green Man, doesn't it? With the leaves around his head and the beard and everything like that. And the fact that it's somebody holding an arrow and a gray cloak and just the whole color scheme looks like it's somebody who's made to sort of fit into the woods.
is that a type of elf then?
I would think so, either an elf or a human ranger, but I don't think we have rangers yet unless there's a precedent for rangers in the Wayback Machine.
What
Nope.
race of elves would dress like this, Cliff?
Some of the Moraquendi who, never ever went to Valinor, the elves who stayed behind in Middle Earth and never went to Valinor.
Fabricio in the chat room, I agree with you 100%. As soon as I saw this photo, that photo on the left, I'm going to say with 90% certainty is my favorite, Ismael Cruz Cordova.
Ah,
You know what? Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would go along with that.
Which
Sure.
means I
Could be quite
thought
correct.
Ismael Cruz Cordova might be Sauron, but this is not Sauron.
No, if that's true, then Ismael Cruz Cordova is playing an elf
That
and
is
not Anatar at all.
that,
and there's a little bit of male on the. I know I'm gesturing, but on the right side of the screen, there's a little bit of chainmail where probably the arm is underneath that cloak. So, and it's small scales, just like the stuff on Galadriel. Very small rings.
So
On the top right portion of that image, isn't there like a Lothlorien leaf as well, by the way?
Mm.
Oh,
Ooh.
there might be. Oh my goodness, you're right. Yes.
But if it was Sauron, and I don't think it is, that is some stupid sexy armor.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know if it's, I mean, it looks like it's fabric, but it also
that
looks
is definitely a
wood.
leaf of Lothlorien at the top.
But
Wow,
Lothlorien
I
I
doesn't
can't even
exist
see
yet.
that.
It
Okay,
looks like
a leaf,
Maloran
an
leaf.
elven, whatever, a leaf like I've seen in the old movies, the new
Right.
movies,
The
the
Malorn.
Third Age
Okay.
movies.
So, I just would like to throw in, I don't remember where I saw this, but somebody took the images of the arrow, the feathers on the arrow, and they compared them to, they had a Legolas shot from Hobbit and a Legolas shot from Lord of the Rings. And it occurred to me that both of these images were pre the Fellowship traveling through Mirkwood. So um, they were not arrows that were created by the Galadrim, so they didn't come from Lothlorien. So my theory is that this is a Sylvan elf of some kind.
Sylvan elf. And what is the significance of a Sylvan elf?
Well, that's Legolas's kin, and these are elves
Forest.
who.
And they
Sorry?
live in the forest. Yeah, they
Yes.
live in the forest.
There's the word Sylvan, right? But
Yep.
they, I guess they're considered a type of dark elf because they did not go, they didn't travel across the seas to see the lights, the trees, sorry.
So when you say dark elf, we're not talking about skin color.
Correct. The difference is elves who had the privilege became the Noldor, who saw the trees of Valinor when they were in bloom and still thriving, versus elves that decided to stay in Middle Earth and not travel with the Maiar over to Valinor.
They were a subgroup of the Nandor, ultimately of Telerin descent. They, like the Sindar, began the great journey to Valinor, but did not complete it. In the Third Age, most of the remaining Sylvan elves lived either in Lothlorien or the woodland realm of Mirkwood.
Would that armor be made of a Malorn tree?
Like I said, until I see it moving, it's because it looks like it's made out of wood or
Yeah.
leather. I mean, it looks very three-dimensional, but it does fold at the belt. And so that's why I'm confused. And I just want to see this costume in motion.
I love that idea, actually. My first thought was, no, how do you make something like that out of wood? But the bark of the Malorn was silver, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that is a nice theory because it could be, it could be flexible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if you think about the bark that comes off of, there's lots of trees where it's a very kind of a papery kind of fabric. They make clothes out of it. I mean, it's called tapas in like Fiji
So
and
good.
stuff. So, ooh.
Very
This
native.
is interesting.
Yeah.
Listen to what's happening in the Second Age. I'm on the one wiki. Some of the Nandor elves, however, stayed in the forested vales to the west of the Misty Mountains, hidden away in their woodland fastnesses, and they were estranged kin, hardly distinguishable from the Avari, and indeed sometimes living in friendship with them. Their language had diverged to such an extent that it was barely intelligible to the Sindar and Noldor elves when they first met the Sylvan elves again in the Second Age, though the languages were found to obviously be related. It was not until this renewed contact between the kindreds and the guidance of the Sindar and the Noldor that the Sylvan elves again became an organized people and increased in wisdom.
Ah. Cool.
And this is something that happened in the Second Age after the destruction of Beleriand and the War of Wrath, where all these elves moved much, much further west because all the lands to the east were sunk under the waves. And then these elves started making friends with their separated kindred elves that had been linguistically and geographically separated from them for centuries and centuries and centuries.
All right, so just so I have this right, we're saying this is an elf. We're saying this is Ismael Cruz Cordova. We're saying this is the same lineage that Orlando Bloom comes from. and which means we're not going to have some lily white Orlando Blooms as all the elves. We have some beautiful people. We're saying this might be a Malorn tree, and we're saying, and what type of elf? Noldor or Sylvan? What did you say?
Sylvan.
Sylvan. Okay. And then, all right, picture on the right.
Well, this one confuses the heck out of me. Obviously holding a weapon or a farming implement. I mean, it could be either. And the cloak is really bland, very worker, very like I'm going out to the market or I'm going to go chop down some wheat. But the blue robe and the gold belt is like, that's not what a farmer would wear. So I don't know what this is.
What's been the theories going on this nondescript photo?
Theories have been confusion about who would carry a farming tool, a scythe for farming, while wearing, a gold belt. And I'm thinking, who is this person, and what are they doing? I don't know. I've been hearing some rumors from some people down in New Zealand that out of these 28 posters, not all of them are lead characters. Some of them are just background people.
God, that would be some stupid games for this Amazon to play.
Wouldn't it be funny if that was the case? Wouldn't that be bizarre if the case was we spent hours analyzing a background actor's photo?
We've got some theories coming out of the new chat over there on Discord.
Go ahead.
Ponton's saying maybe that's a noble Numenorian farmer. Mixelplix, I love this one. Mixelplix says, this is a hobbit cutting down tobacco.
I like it.
Well, my theory,
Dr. Noisy Parker, this is a Harfoot.
Well, and I do like the theory of like you could be a landowner, a rich farmer, so that there would be farming implements and maybe you're outside. And if something happens that requires defense, you grab whatever's the closest sharp thing to you.
Well, Cliff, let me ask you this: out of all the peoples of Middle Earth, which ones are most likely to be communists?
Oh, funny. Stop.
Aren't we in enough trouble already?
Well, okay, let's narrow this down. First off, people, do you think this is a man or a woman or a child?
Man.
With the sickle?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
I think that's a woman's
or a
hand.
youth.
I think
Female
that's
or youth.
Yeah, I think that's a woman's hand.
The gold belt throws me off.
Yeah.
We've got a chatter, Bing Ming, who is saying maybe this is Numenorian royalty farmer thing.
Yeah, totally.
But look
like
at that
merchant.
sickle. That sickle's beat. This is and those are some working hands. This is definitely a field person, I think.
Yeah.
Who's got a little bit of money laid up, kind of like Thorin at the anvil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think this is obviously somebody who does a lot of active work in the field. But I originally thought that it might have been one of the show's potential blue wizards, and I saw it pop up on Reddit too. But if you read the descriptive text on Twitter, it says that the robe is actually greenish despite looking super blue. So then I was thinking maybe some sort of Hobbit Harfoot type character who came up to a field, needed to get some stuff, picked up a sickle for self-defense, as well as maybe grabbing some crops to run away with. But I don't see it being any sort of noble.
No.
Would Harfoots be dressed that well?
Oh.
I thought they were nomads.
Look, when you're stealing stuff, you grab whatever you can grab.
Well, we know hobbits like to dress in bright colors, although that's not green or yellow.
They are well dressed. Hobbits are well dressed. That is, yes.
Not if they're scrabbling, migrating people who have no home and no place to stay. And
Yep.
anyways, let's go on to our next set of posters.
Let's do that. So I know the Rohirrim don't exist, but I love that sword handle.
That is a broken sword handle on the left. That is Wait, so who are the Rohan descended from?
The Eotheod.
Bless you.
They're a distinct, yeah, exactly. A distinct grouping of men who lived in the northern vales of the Anduin River system, and then moved south and brought their equestrian skills with them and started inhabiting the lands that would later be recognized as Rohan many centuries later.
What's going on with the detail in the sword there? It's hard. I'm not sure what
It's
I'm picking
kind
up.
of
Is there a
Irish.
sun motif in there?
Well, no, there's another horse. There's a horse head at the top, kind of going down. It's kind of got that Irish or maybe Mycenaean look, almost Egyptian, or not Egyptian, Greek. He's wearing scale mail.
Minoan?
Huh?
Minoan? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, yeah.
The internet is screaming that it looks like a seahorse.
Ah,
You know what?
Oh.
On the sword, it does. On the sword, it does.
Hmm.
Oh my God, it does. It's got a tail. I mean, it didn't just have like the curlies, but it actually has a physical tail. It might be a seahorse, which would then make it a, ooh.
Well, that really fits because we know the Numenorians were quite the seafaring conquerors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this ain't Aquaman. No one's riding seahorses. What kind of show are we
Look at the
getting?
scale. Look at the scale mail. I mean, that scale mail. So that's
Nice.
that motif as opposed to regular armor. It's
Oh.
yeah,
So
You
we're
think this-
trending hard Numenorian here with this person, sounds like.
yeah, we are. And possibly somebody who deals with the sea. And look at his belt. Just below the hilt of the thing, he's got two round things. But the belt looks like there's like a shell that sort of looks like this, where it looks like scales of a fish. Not scales of a fish, but just look at the belt, because you're going to see it on it. There's another picture where somebody else is wearing a belt like this and is wearing a gambeson just like this.
Matthias in the chat room. Cliff, please tell me who these people are, what these it says. Matthias says it's Girthang because Tol Morwen is on the map Amazon released.
That's the other picture.
he's
Oh, that's
referring to
The
picture
left,
on the
the
left.
one on the left. Okay, so
Yes.
we're on the picture on the right, and so we're saying this is Numenorian, and it is Numenor is known for its sailing and its horse cavalry.
I don't know if they necessarily. I mean, I don't know if they're known for having a cavalry, but I guess that's the only way to get around. Once you sail someplace, you have to get places. So I don't know.
Does Tolkien allow for flying horses, Pegasus?
Not that we know of, but there's a lot of undiscovered places on the map.
I'm waiting for a Pegasus or a unicorn to drop in. I mean, although I might check out if that happens.
Knights of Dol Amroth. I think the chat room wants to talk about the left picture because that is more interesting to me.
Yeah. Well,
I'm getting text messages from New Zealand right now, and I can't even.
Come on, you can a little bit. Come on.
Okay, it is further being asserted to me right now during this live broadcast that some of the posters we're looking at are not lead characters at all. At all.
Oh,
Wow.
23
And if-
is a lot of lead.
Wait, so
That's-
should we just end this stream? Like, you're
if that's the
wasting all of
case-
our time?
If that's the case, then if we're looking at maybe other characters or unique designs that they've come up with in the art department, and maybe the purpose is for them to lead us astray with a lot of red herrings at the same time that they're letting us have a good glimpse at what the property masters and sword masters are able to design and create.
yeah.
But I am getting messages saying some of these character posters are distinct lead actors in lead roles. Some of them are not characters at all that will even reappear.
Hey, Cliff.
So that's intriguing to me. That's intriguing, really.
Cliff, can you tell Jeff we said hi?
No, I'm not getting any messages from Jeff Bezos. Stop it.
Is there a correlation between like dirty hands and
I will never. I will.
main characters or
All right, we could talk about who's carrying the sickle. Why do they have a gold belt for another half an hour? Or we could just go on to the next poster.
Well, look, all
We
right. So
already have.
I think
I know. But I mean, the idea that there are no Rohirrim in the Second Age, and it is confirmed by talking to Otaku Senpai in the chat that they would not even be called Eotheod at this time in the Second Age. They wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're looking at a heavy representation of what we think it is related to Third Age Rohirrim. But we're
No, that's why it looks
certainly
Numenor. Yeah, with the seahorse on the.
yeah, I'm into that. I love that interpretation much more. There's more confusion about the left poster. And
Yeah, so
that broken sword. What is that all about?
let me point some things out that shined at me. First off, this is a woman. She's wearing a V-neck.
Mhm.
It is a heavy coat, so it is a cold climate. And I don't know anything about what people talk about, Cliff. So can you enlighten me when people say, "Will we see Galadriel cross the Helcarax"? What are people referring to?
That is a story that happens in the Silmarillion in the First Age. It happens during a very difficult time when Feanor and his sons are so pissed off that Morgoth has taken the Silmarils and has run off to Thangorodrim with the 3 shining jewels, the Silmarils. And it gets pretty sticky and difficult because there is elf on elf violence. It is called the kinslaying, where the raising of weapons from one elf to kill another elf happened in the name of going after the boats so they could get in those boats and go chase down Morgoth and get the Silmarils back. A lot of elves were loyal to one another and to the Valar, and they would not take part in the Oath of Feanor, and they would not fight and bring weapons and bloodshed against their own brothers and sisters in Alqualonde. All of this is all juicy backbone material in the Silmarillion. And what's interesting is that when the ships were taken, they were taken by Feanor and his sons, and then when they arrived in Middle-earth, they burned them. They burned the ships so that they couldn't go back and get anybody else on the shore. And so any of the remaining people who had to go and get to Middle-earth, they had to go across the Helcarax, the grinding glaciers and ice that was so difficult to traverse across the northern polar coastline, going from one continent up to the far north and then back down into Beleriand to arrive the long way round. And that is a reference to going across Helcarax. But I don't understand why we would see any of that stuff at all in the Second Age series unless it was a specific flashback where they're talking about, well, you know what happened with Feanor and the Oath of Feanor and his sons, and they swore that they would kill anybody and strike them down if they had the Silmarils, or they were withholding the Silmarils being returned to the sons of Feanor. And
well, let me remind you
all
then,
Silmarillion
Cliff.
stuff. They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, so I don't understand why there would be such a necessity to include that major chapter of the Silmarillion
Well, let me
series.
Cliff,
don't
let
have
me
the license
remind
for
you,
that.
what was
They
our
don't have it.
first scoop from the show? What was our very first leak from the set of the Lord of the Rings?
Was that they had licensed certain sections of the Silmarillion?
No, it was a
No.
photo taken from the street of a giant mountain of snow. Remember?
Oh, you mean the ice cliff that we saw inside the set? That set
Right.
photograph of a big frozen glacier ice cliff that we saw?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was during the pilot shooting. That was during the first 2 episodes of shooting.
Right.
So I think that this character on the left is related to someone involved in the crossing of the Helcarax. She's dressed. It's a she.
No,
Why
it's
would you-
not.
Coat.
Why would you
don't
think
think
that?
so. I don't-
Why would you think that?
Well, because the
just-
sword is broken. It
What does
symbolizing.
that have to do about a girl?
The elves are you said the elves split. Like there's a broken sword, and she's dressed for winter weather.
Or
But
he
this,
is.
the design of the sword and whatever the sword is embedded in really reflects Mordor, which of course doesn't exist for a long time. But I don't know, Justin. I think you're grasping. I do like this idea of being dressed warmly and a potential crossing of the Helcaraxe. But also, in the north of Middle Earth, the northern kingdoms of men, there was a lot of bad business going on. So again, it gets back to that. Where are we going on the timeline here for things?
Hmm.
Well,
It does make me wonder. Now,
it looks really old. I mean, it looks ancient, and it does look like, and someone had mentioned, didn't they do Battle with Dragons, and do dragons' blood have acid in it? I don't know. I mean, I know they do in Norwegian myths, but I don't know if they do in Middle Earth myths as to whether or not the dragons have acidic blood that would, the way that this has been aged.
Robert in the chat room says, "I buy the tree dagger because it would have been forged by Feanor prior to the kinslaying."
well, the comments about Girthing are interesting, but that's another deeply embedded Silmarillion story. Girthing was the sword that has many tragic connections to it. It was the sword that was used by Turin to slay the vicious dragon Glaurung, and it was also the sword that he used to kill himself.
So extending that theory, then would this be Nienna?
There maybe, but I don't know. The idea is that that sword was broken and reforged, and it was called Girthing. But then it was broken again when Turin killed himself in despair, which is one of the most difficult things that you can ever read in the Silmarillion, is the tragedy all around Turin, and it's just insane stuff. But
So where would they find the relics of that sword during their crossing the Helcaraxe?
no, I don't think it would have anything. I don't know why you keep bringing that up. This sword has
It's the only snow
nothing.
weather I can think of.
There is no way that they licensed the Silmarillion to tell that story unless they're going to give us a brief flashback. But if this is Girthing, that sword, it has nothing to do with the crossing of the Helcaraxe anyways, because those are completely unrelated events separated by many thousands of years.
All right, so where would they find Girthing?
Unknown. It's unknown where a sword that was broken and lost would have been recovered when Beleriand itself was all destroyed under the waves in the tumult after the War of Wrath.
So it's in Numenor, or is it under the Lonely Mountain?
This doesn't indicate dwarven heritage in this. It's probably the biggest mystery for what this sword really is. But I do appreciate the connection that some fans have been making. This would be Girthing, that somehow, unknown to us yet, it may have survived the tumult of the first age and been brought forward into the second age. But for what purpose in the story, I'm not sure.
I also think this is one of our the actress that we see here. I think it is an actress, and I think it is one of the beautiful.
Well, according to the map, everyone in the map, everyone is referring to the map that shows Tol Morwen. That map that Amazon revealed, it shows a place on the map that was previously part of Beleriand that would have been right offshore of Lindon, where Gil-galad and his people started their new kingdom in Lindon after the destruction of Beleriand.
So, are there some things that are mentioned in the map?
Some things mentioned in the map? No, just places that refer to historical specific places that are familiar to us in the stories. So I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I get there.
Where do we go? Where do we go on the map?
Let's remember too that the Numenorians were traipsing all around and conquering and settling, and theoretically those peoples being conquered were less sophisticated, so their weaponry, their clothing would reflect a lesser make. So
top left. People are telling me top left of the map.
Yep. not that far. Come in from the rose. There it is, Tall Morwen, right there.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep,
Hey, that's way up there. Yeah.
yep. But it's closest to the shore of Linden. So if there was any traveling of boats from anybody who was there, from there to there, they could have brought any surviving relics from Beleriand, possibly. And it's interesting, but the connections are there.
And it doesn't have to be a famous weapon. It could just be the weapon of someone's ancestor or something. That's why they're holding it, because maybe it's something they've kept all their lives. And
Hey,
they've never
Andrew in the chat says, "Good night, folks. It's 3:30 a.m. in the UK." Andrew, I thought you were going to stay up late with us to practice for Sunday when we get the trailer in the middle of the night UK time.
Okay. I thank you again for staying up with us. Thank you for staying so late up in the nighttime into the wee hours of the morning. Thank you of Gondor. Tall Morwen, which is that island you just found off the coast, is exactly where Turin's body was buried, and his body was buried with the broken remains of the sword Gurthang.
Wait, like the Shroud of Turin?
No, that's our world, not the secondary world of Arda. Silly boy.
Bad, Justin.
Wait, but
You're
I thought
horrible.
Tolkien was Catholic.
Let's go.
All right,
I'm
next.
with you now. I've been convinced of Gondor and other people in the chat who have been giving me this information, and I'm starting to I'm not sure why any character from Linden would go over there on a boat to the island and disturb the grave of Turin and get that broken piece of Gurthang. I don't know why that would happen, but it is quite feasible. It is feasible. It could happen. It could. I'm with you on that.
All right,
And it does have a ruin on it. But
Yeah, a strange rune on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, look at how small those hands are compared to those.
Is that a
acorns.
Harfoot? Are those Harfoots? Both of those?
That's a proto-hobbit. It could be a store or a fallowhide or a Harfoot, but that's definitely early Hobbit
Both of them.
ancestor.
Both of them are.
That's the first time I've heard of the clan Proto-Hobbit.
That's what they call them, proto-hobbits. They've been calling them that for a long time now. I don't know why.
Cliff, since you got that text, I'm willing to just move on because I think these two are just filled.
No, I think the one on the right is a blue wizard, and we need to talk about LOTR and
Hang
Palando.
on. Wait.
I think that is blue wizard material, and that has been speculated not just by me, but a lot of other intriguing people who are smarter than I am.
Varking,
definitely
can you
been
confirm?
looking.
Are people saying this is a wizard?
I
People
can
are-
confirm that a metric ton of people have been talking about that being in older man's hands, that being some sort of staff, and that being a blue wizard.
yeah, I'm on board with that.
Thank you.
Definitely got the wandering thing down. Very worn clothing. The bear claw is interesting, or unless it's a tooth claw, whatever it is, it's interesting.
Look at that fang.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
really cool if we got a blue wizard.
I want Ken Watanabe to be in this show so bad. I really want him to be a blue wizard so bad. So bad.
You think that's a blue wizard?
I do. And I want that. I want that to be true. And so, Varking, there's lots of people who want that to be true. Are we okay with that? Yes?
I'm okay.
I'm okay with that.
100%. I think that's the best guess.
Right. That was.
Hold on. I see Doran Deathless in the Discord chat has pointed out the descriptive text for that says their hands are clasped around what appears to be primitive farm equipment, which would not indicate a staff. But when you're a wizard and blue, you can make that into a staff. You don't have to you can create your own staff. There was no blueprint or crafting materials for it. You just make it with what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Varking, maybe this is a Hobbit butter churner.
Maybe. Yeah.
because so it describes it as a farm implement, but you don't really see beyond. I mean, so it don't look like that. It just looks like a Kirby wood. Whatever.
Can you fly on that thing?
I don't know. Did the Blue Wizards fly?
Why not?
That's an interesting thing. I would not expect. I honestly don't expect a wizard, but that's interesting. All right.
I'll
Go
take that away from
back
you,
to the
Justin.
real quick to the just to the acorns. Obviously, in the Hobbit film, acorns were. I mean, they were on the buttons of Bilbo's shirt or his vest. So acorns has always represented hobbits. So that's a hobbit, but I love it, proto hobbit. But other than that, I don't have anything else. I think it's a girl.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that one on the left here is also a hobbit.
I think both of them are hobbits.
Both of these now, the ones we're looking at now, are definitely proto-hobbits, or what we'd call the early antecedents of a hobbit.
The one on the right, I'm saying with 95% accuracy,
is Sir Lenny Henry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is Sir Lenny Henry. Yes, on the right. That's him.
That is the great Harfoot of our time.
Well, look at this interesting, all these weird glyphs.
Yeah, what's the buzz on that stuff?
Is that like
pictographs.
It's writing. It's pre-writing, but
it's like what you see on the wall paintings. If you go down and see the Aboriginal caves and stuff like that, all the wall paintings.
So could this be a map?
It could be. It looks like a map from Ancient Aliens. These look like strange petroglyphs that were written down by an ancient society to record like natural phenomena that they're observing in the world. We're talking like early type of society.
Yeah, because if you look at it, there's like a picture of what looks like a person, and sun and hills, and there's two trees.
Water, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, very definitely early languages of the way that the Egyptian and the Chinese had pictographs, which were actually mostly, I mean, particularly with the Egyptians, were just, I have 3 cows, I have this many dogs, I have this much grain. That's what the early pictographs actually meant.
Was Bilbo Baggins a map maker?
No, he was a collector. He was a collector of maps, and he loved maps. And he took a famous map of the Shire and had it all marked up with his favorite walking paths and trails. So he would mark up his maps and he was largely responsible for writing down the history of how the hobbits got involved in the War of the Ring and the whole quest for Erebor, obviously. So maybe he did draw some extra maps.
And Harfoots were nomadic peoples. Like they would stay in a place for a while and then they would move. So of course the leader of the Harfoots would be a map person to know where they've been and where the good stuff is, right?
Well, it's also true that Tolkien says the hobbits were not literate and they didn't learn their letters, and they never wrote down their histories. And one of the main reasons the hobbits maintain so much mystery within that conceit, within Tolkien's original conceit as an author, they don't have written records of their own histories. They had oral traditions, right? So that's why there wasn't much existing history to trace down the origins of the hobbits. And nobody else in the realm of elves or men paid attention to them or mentioned them in their recorded history. So if that is Lenny Henry, I find it interesting that he's got all these glyphs and writings on a scroll when so much has been said of, the hobbits not bothering to learn their letters.
And to be clear to the chat room, we are absolutely, Sir Lenny Henry is not trolling us about being a Harfoot. He's absolutely a halfling of the Second Age.
A really nice Tolkien crossover pointed out by one of our Torn staffers, Earl, who's actually commuting on a train to and from work today down south. But Earl says it's interesting that these glyphs, these characters or symbols, look a lot like what you see in the Father Christmas letters. like the symbols Tolkien used in the Father Christmas letters. I really love that.
Oh, they do. And yes, that's right. I've seen other people actually talk about how similar those glyphs are to the Father Christmas letters. Thank you
So
for reminding me of that.
bravo, Amazon Prime. I mean, that's the kind of art direction that we're loving. And I sure
Yeah.
hope the writing is like that too. Sorry.
I
No,
joked
it's-
earlier about them running with the staff of Gondolin to go take it to somebody else or the scepter, but maybe Lenny Henry has this letter and he can't read it, and that is why he's going to take it to somebody he believes can.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a nice possibility.
Oh yeah, I dig that.
Oh, wow.
I will remind everyone to go ahead and look at the onering.net again and look at our article that Nancy just published. It's on our front page. It's called Translating the Runes. And she's got this really cool thing where we see what is written on a wake sleeping stone on the dwarven axe or hammer. And I'm sure that we will be able to expand on that and add some other tidbits if we get to figure out what these other things are that we're translating. These proto runes.
Well, so that you bypass the lady, go back to the lady. The one with the fruit in her hand.
Yeah.
The reason why I was most interested in this one is she's holding in one hand, obviously the fruits, but if her other hand is actually holding a braid, a gray braid. So somebody who's got grayish hair.
Long
if you look
grayish
down,
hair.
she's got this bag, and it almost looks like her braid is what the bag is strung through her braid. It's fascinating looking.
Huh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's either a hair braid shoulder strap or braided, the bags incorporated right into the hair. Great observation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, Hobbit, I'm thinking, but that's just, food, I guess. Wasn't it Christy who said, Sastine, she was like, oh yeah, food makes me think of hobbits.
Or could
Also-
that be a horsehair sash?
It could be a horsehair sash. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Someone threw out the idea that these fruit could be the fruit of Yavanna. They
What's
seem
the
to be
significance
the
there?
right color. This would put hobbits way back at the early days of the beginning of things. So I thought it was an interesting concept, but but perhaps the fruit of Yavanna are scattered throughout Middle Earth. It reminds me of a Stephen R. Donaldson motif.
Indeed.
And of course, since the Ents had no record of hobbits at all, I'm still hoping at some point we get to see the Ents in an earlier age.
I'd love that.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
I mean, that's one of those things that's an absolute possibility, because while you might not find them in the appendices, we know that they inhabited Middle Earth throughout these ages. So I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, what would be really cool is to finally see Ent wives. Because
And the gardens.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, or the orchards.
I would love that. And that would be a big win. That would be a huge, wonderful thing for Amazon to show us what happened to the Ent wives. That would be phenomenal.
And even if it's not what happened to them, but at least what was there beforehand, what inspired that poetry that Treebeard says.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, these next two posters, people in the chat say these look like characters from a Bible movie. These costumes look like people from a Bible movie.
Well, I put
What?
down for the lady, I put down medicine woman. I mean, that's sort of
Medicine
like
woman?
my theory of her is, that she's probably a woman of either the hobbits or of man, but she just looks like an elder.
She's pregnant.
I don't know if she's pregnant or she's just wearing a lot of material.
A lot of people say we're looking at Isildur. Isildur, one of our lead characters on the right, with the mariner's rope.
Yeah, and
A lot of
Maxim
people think.
Baldry?
There's a
What's
lot of
the-
speculation that people online have determined that Maxim Baldry does play Isildur, and if you look at that image, on the middle portion of the top of his hand, there is a scar. And the internet is a wonderful detective, and they've gone on to look up his actual like model photos and found that same exact scar on his hand.
So that's Maxim Baldry.
So that's
Mhm.
Isildur.
Well, it could, maybe.
I'd say
Although-
yes.
That's the Isildur that Elrond's all mad about, and
Yeah, it's kind of a beater
Could he
ring
be
he's
younger?
got for being Isildur. I don't know. Who am I to argue with the internet? So that's pretty good stuff.
Well,
I'll
this
link
could
the
be when
thread in
he's
the dis-
young. I mean, Maxim's a young actor.
so we're getting the whole. This is the life and times of Isildur. That's what the show is. If we're ending at the Battle of the Last Alliance or whatever, this and we're starting with young Isildur and holding some rope, like this
Like he's
is
gonna go fishing.
this
I mean,
is Isildur's story. Is
Could
it
work. Definitely could work.
Because wouldn't rope sort of indicate someone who's going to go work on a ship?
Is this a good thing? Does this mean we're getting a lot of Numenor story over the next
That's
5
also,
seasons?
I'm sorry, it's also a huge time jump to go from the creation of the rings, which is central as far as we know, down to Isildur's life, where Sauron actually loses the ring. Are we covering that much ground here? I don't know.
Yeah, because how much from when he first talks to Celebrimbor and starts working on the rings, how much time is there between the making and the distribution and eventually the One Ring?
How long does Isildur live?
Well, he's Numenorian, so probably a long time.
Maybe Amazon took this photo of him in this state so they could put it on their website when the show airs, and you can go to it, click his profile, and see him as like a younger version of him, and the show version of him will be, what we're all expecting.
Now you're thinking like a Hollywood guy. Nice.
Cliff, does this get you more excited or less excited about Isildur's story?
I'm honest about this. It is a wonderful aspect to bring Isildur and Galadriel and Elrond and all of them into the forefront of the story. And he was such a linchpin character. The choices that Isildur made, the errors, the huge errors and judgment that Isildur made, on top of the bravery to run to his father's side on the battlefield and defend his father's dying body against Sauron with nothing but a broken chip of a blade. You got a lot to talk about with Isildur. His bravery, his support of his father, and the faithful of Numenor. It's a bigger canvas of a story besides just what Peter Jackson focused on was that one moral failing, that one choice that Isildur becomes so defined by. Now is a chance for the writers of the series to define Isildur by many, many other actions in the Second Age, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Yep.
All right, these next two, I'm going to go with, they're both Numenorian. I'll start with the red dress on the right, or orange dress, or whatever you want to call it. Some early leaks from the show said that in casting auditions, they had actresses wear these orange dresses when they were doing testing shots, testing different ways of folding in different colors, but it was always this color for maidens of Numenor. And then, so I think that the person on the right is someone from Numenor, and the person on the left, based on what you guys said about fish scales and all that, puts the person on the left in Numenor.
Okay, everybody is talking and has confirmed, and I'm sure a lot of this comes from a scoop that Fellowship of the Fans successfully got for us, and they're saying that the female on the right is Isildur's sister, and her name is Carine, Carine.
Okay, so the one holding the book.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of Gondor is saying that, and thank you, Daisy Kim and Jose, for the input. But of Gondor says, "Hear me out. It's Gilraen holding the history of Numenor, reading to a young Aragorn in Rivendell," and that is suggesting that there's
Wow.
a bookend. That is suggesting that Third Age bookend is Gilraen reading the histories of the Second Age to a baby Aragorn, and we cut to all the Second Age stuff, and then sometimes, I mean, this is the whole Princess Bride
Yeah.
bookend motif of
Framing.
the framing. That's what
Or
I
the
meant to say.
framing
The
that we
framing.
got with the Hobbit series, you know, that they put the one expected party, you know, Bilbo's birthday at the beginning of it, and then you read his book, his story, his book.
I bet you it's Isildur's sister. That's what my instincts are telling me.
Both of them?
No, the
No.
one on the right. The one on the left, I don't know. I don't know who that could possibly be.
Is
Well,
it
There are-
someone was like, if because we got our very first official image was the two trees. What if we're going to get some of that creation stuff? And somebody said, "Hey, maybe this is just Yavanna."
Who's,
I
Maybe.
think that's
Who's
possible.
Yavanna?
Yavanna is one of the
Oh,
Valar
boy.
from the early stories of the Silmarillion.
I don't need that condescension, Tukish. We're here to learn together.
No, I wasn't
No.
being condescending. I was like, here we go. Go, Cliff.
No, a lot of people have recognized that the Queen of Numenor, Tar Muriel, would be the woman identified holding the blossom on the left.
Okay, that also makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, obviously fish scale,
Armor?
more of a decorated as opposed to like actual armor.
Yes.
I mean, that's
And-
the
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is
dress
decorative, yeah.
I would love to wear that like to the Oscars. That's
Oh, hey,
wouldn't that be cool?
Mojo Dojo says that Tar Muriel was cast by the actress named Cynthia Adai Robinson.
Beautiful.
And Carine, Isildur's sister, is played by Emma Hovarth.
And
So-
that's what they look like.
That's what we're looking, and yeah, I bet you that's exactly who we're looking at right now. Yep. So we know who those two are.
Since I got you guys here, Cliff, Tukish, you've been a member of the One Ring for many, many years, and we've always had a nice positive, we've maintained a positive environment for fans. And Varking, you're here too. You manage the subreddit for Lord of the Rings on Prime. You can't see my face, man, but I just want to call out Otaku Senpai. Look, I know you've been a wonderful contributor to this conversation. You've been in shows, but every single black and person of color actor that we've been talking about today, you say there's no way that they could be anything but Harad and Umbar. And I know what you're doing, and I'm telling you, people of color are not limited to Harad. And that's the whole point of all of the beauty of Tolkien's world, especially in the Second Age. Numenor is very multicultural. And so comments like that, where you're saying if they're a black person, they're from Harad or Umbar, that's bordering on racism, and I'm getting close to banning you.
It's just misinformed. You know, it's just straight out wrong. I was checking out, I'm sure, a semi-famous YouTuber who has created a whole broadcast about how, this woke, is it going to be a woke disaster? And I'm like, if you think that this series is not going to be inclusive and welcoming, you're mistaken. And I really don't see how it's any kind of a violation of Tolkien canon. I mean, are you going to look back at all of the sort of spin-offs and productions that have interpreted the works of Tolkien and say that every single one of those has been faithful to the work? Get out of here. So it's off base. And honestly, from my point of view, it's not welcome. So we are a huge community. And it's that sense of community that bonded us to the creatives in the industry doing this Tolkien work in the first place.
Well,
So,
and Justin, at the very beginning of, or early on in you guys' discussion, Justin, I loved what you said about how Hobbit and Lord of the Rings has been translated into dozens and dozens of languages around the world. And there's strong, strong fan bases all throughout Asia and Europe and in all sorts of places. And those people, when they read the descriptions and when they read about these people, the movie in their head is going to be whatever it is they think that description describes, which is going to be whatever they are accustomed to seeing. And therefore, being able to finally actually on screen see something a little bit more reflective of themselves is just going to validate what they see in their own heads when they read the book. Because you can't tell me somebody in Japan is imagining Aragorn and Arwen and Bilbo looking exactly like my version of them when I read it when I was 10 years old. So that was a good point, Justin, that you made earlier on that, and that's why I'm repeating it.
I think there's going to be a whole lot of people and places and things that we haven't seen in Middle Earth, because the cameras are going to go to different places in the land and the geography, very far afield, and we're going to see all kinds of interesting things. So why not just have an open mind and enjoy it? It's that simple. Although I appreciate that we might be looking for new characters who would be perhaps people who receive rings from Sauron, and they're going to be from different kingdoms all over the planet. We're going to go all over the place. So there's a lot of room, a lot of breathing room, and a lot of diverse people and places we're going to see in a whole new way. And again, I'm pointing out what is the newness, the new novelty of this, getting to go across Arda to places that Tolkien never fully wrote about in mega detail. So I'm down for all this, and I also appreciate trying to keep the scope of what we're talking about within reason and without pushing anybody's buttons or anything. And we do appreciate that. We're going to continue to have a really good, upbeat, fun time. It's all about having fun and supporting one another as a community. That's what it's all about.
Can I throw in another
moving
thought?
on. Throw in those thoughts.
Thanks. When Tolkien wrote the music of the Ainur, it was diverse, and that all that being captured in what becomes Middle Earth, I think it's inevitable that there's all kinds of people there, and it would be wonderful, I think, also to see that reflected in the Maiar and the Valar. So maybe it'll go beyond just the mortals and immortals of Middle Earth.
I would pay good money to see the quote unquote gods and goddesses, the Valar, show up in the series. But if they didn't pay for the license, I don't think we're going to get to see it. But boy, I would love. You know what? That's because I've always wanted to see the Silmarillion written large in a cinematic way. I've always wanted to see that. So this right now is as close as we're going to get to it.
So rumor has it, I think, Varking, can you confirm people think Sauron is on the right?
I can't confirm that is the I have read that a ton, but I think people are pretty mixed on that, and I believe people have nailed down Tristan Gravelli as the gent on the left in blue. But I'm trying to look right now for that thread on the person on the right with the orange with the circle motifs all around their belt.
Well, yeah, and if you look at that belt, it's got, they almost look like fish, sort of, or like dolphin type of designs. And it reminded me very much of the book. And then, of course, the fact that the sleeves are orange also reminds me of the orange of the book. In fact, actually, you can see the red, a little bit of the red sleeve on the, as if somebody's standing next to him in the picture that was cropped, which would be the similar color as to what the lady holding the book. In other words, I think that they're together, or that this orangey colors, this deep orange, is a I don't know, like a color palette that's just going to be something we see a lot of. But that sort of,
Are these
yeah.
both Numenor?
Well, the guy with the person with the horse sword, if you look at his belt, not the belt buckle, but the way the links of his belt, the guy in the blue, his belt is the exact same belt as what the guy holding the horse sword is wearing, just a different buckle.
One's leather, one's golden.
Yeah.
The horse stick?
Yes. The
seahorse sword.
Yeah. If you're able to look at a close-up picture, you will see the links of the belt is the same. I mean, the buckle is obviously very different, but the links are the same.
Spine. It looks like a spine. And then if we go back down.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's the same place as that horse sword. So did we determine that's Numenorian?
Yeah, that one was, this one could be the blue, yeah.
Royalty with the rings?
If not royalty, at least noble.
It looks very regal and royal. The rings, the nice blue, the gold, all these different patterns.
Is that our Farazan?
I was going to go with our Farazan as the dude with all the gold rings and all the gold outfit. I thought that was our Farazan, just because of the heavy color.
Yeah.
If this is our Farazan, to me, it's coming off a little modest. Our Farazan was over the top and egocentric and probably a narcissist. But
was he always that way, or did he develop that way?
Well, ultimately, in the end, that's a fair point.
The thing that's interesting about the gentleman with the orange sleeves is that shirt. I'm going to go back to well, I guess the Cook Islands. The way that the fabric of the dress or the tunic was printed is that this negative kind of printing where you carve patterns into something and then you put your fabric down with paint and you get a thing like that. So it makes it very not regal, but very a simple kind of outfit, even though he's got really nice cuffs. So I just sort of see someone who's definitely a servant, but in a nice house or castle or something like that, but a servant.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He's a servant to Isildur's sister with the orange dress.
Yeah.
Or, if this is a Sauron type, somebody who's just trying to be low key and get into everyone's good graces. Humble little Sauron.
Well, being somebody's servant would get you, a servant to a noble house would get you on the inside.
Is Isildur's house a noble house or a royal house?
Well, at first, a royal house after the change in the Numenorian rulership after the destruction of the continent. I mean,
so right now, season 1,
it was Elendil.
Season 1, though, right now, our Farazan is king and Elendil is in the court.
I don't know if you can actually say that. We don't know if that's the time period they're starting in.
We know our Farazan is going to be a major part of the show.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, that's the last generation. I mean, if it's the Rings of Power, then the rings may be already forged. I mean, they'd have to be.
Daisy Kim in the chat room says, noble in Numenor, royal in Middle-earth.
Ah.
Our Farazan is who I think is on the left in the blue.
Yeah, our Farazan.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I could be 100% wrong about the guy with the gold rings, and maybe this guy in the rich royal blue with the green ring on his second finger. That definitely, I'm with you, Varking.
And he could wear more than one outfit. And he could wear more than one outfit. This is just, what he's wearing on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sunday might be blinged out.
Good theory.
All right, we're getting close, folks.
We are getting very close, but this is the big conversation about this sun sword and whether this is who we think it is. Is it Glorfindel or not? Holy cow! Is this Anarion? Uh, you know, the other.
Why would
the-
why? So explain yourself. Who is Glorfindel and why would they have a sword?
Well, Glorfindel was the great elven lord in the Silmarillion stories. He was instrumental during the sack of the hidden city of Gondolin. We just mentioned him earlier. And everybody in the Fellowship of the Ring is looking for Glorfindel. And when you see the movies, it's never him. It's either Arwen or Legolas who comes to help
Yeah.
Frodo get across the ford of Bruinen. It's never Glorfindel like it is in the books. So
Yeah.
a lot of
Right.
fan speculation that we might have somebody enter the stage for the first time being a representation of Glorfindel. And, he
That would be
was...
Well, in an effort to save time, because we're 1 hour, we're 1 hour away from the Book of Boba Fett finale. The the guy on the left
Yes.
is Elendil,
Okay, awesome.
and
That's
that
awesome.
that is your new Narsil.
Okay, so this is definitely not his son. It's not Elendil's son, Anarion. It's Elendil himself.
That is Elendil. That is Narsil, and that answers all of the questions of is this connected to Peter Jackson's universe?
Okay.
Uh,
and
wow.
I'm gonna
Wow.
point out one other thing.
How do you
Again,
join
going back to the-
Discord?
Going back
You shouldn't be denied. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, going back to the guy with the horse sword, if you look down at his hands, he has the same kind of the gambeson, the padded shirt that's in burgundy with the gold thread, just like this guy has the green padded with the thread. In other words, I think they're related because they're wearing the same kind of armor or under armor, basically.
Oh, they're wearing the same Under Armour. Okay, yeah. So So this
Ah.
horse lord, if he's related to Elendil, who is that? Anarion?
Could be. That could be Anarion. That could be his other son.
And if you look at the chest plate on his armor, it's a triscale, the three swirly patterns, but the in-between space looks like scales, like maybe dragon scales. And of course, the gentleman in the burgundy with the horse sword is got scale mail on.
He
So
does
I'm-
have scale mail.
I'm making the two guys holding swords, I'm saying are related.
Oh, coolness. Good eye, Kathy. Very good eye for details. I love that.
Well,
All right, so we're saying the person with the horse sword is Anarion, brother of Isildur,
Hmm.
and this sun sword, which is Narsil, that's Elendil. And the person on the right, the rumors on Reddit, I believe, have been this is Meteor Man. And
Oh, finally, we're getting to Meteor Man. Wow.
somebody explain to me what Meteor Man is.
okay,
Yes, please.
one of the earliest scoops, Cliff, I believe if you go back to July of last year, Cliff posted a list of scoops all in one go that kind of blew everything wide open. And one of the rumors is a character comes to Middle Earth in a big kind of electric flame ball, and that's where we see nudity. It was described kind of like the Terminator arriving. Remember when the Terminator arrives and he
Yeah.
arrives naked in a ball
Yep.
of lightning and he causes a meteor impact, like a big meteor impact? That's what
And
happens in the show.
And James Cameron gives him a silhouette shot of him rising up from the time blast where he's just arrived, and he's in silhouette, buck naked, and he's looking around. It's the evil guy who's coming to kill the hero. Yes, we
Yeah.
remember all that. But I'm also reminded of Richard Donner's early Superman film, and that
Yeah.
with Christopher Reeve. And in that version, the arrival of the Kryptonian baby escape pod, the escape pod that has Kal-El in it, it crashes like a meteor in the big cornfield with this
Yep.
specific crash. You remember the scene, and then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a little tiny baby who climbs up out of the meteor, and maybe this is what we're going to see. But who is this character arriving in a meteor in
I
Middle
think
Earth?
it's a wizard.
Who is this?
I think
Is
it's
there
a
a
wizard.
connection to this image with the sun sword
Hmm.
and the
No.
meteor theory? No. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought there was a connection
unrelated,
there.
but
It doesn't
we
seem.
have a big fluffy beard at the top of his picture on the right, and
Yeah.
why would he hold an apple?
Do you know the rumors I'm
Radagast?
hearing is that this is
Radagast?
one of the Istari. Yeah, Kathy. What if it's Radagast or Saruman arriving early in the story? But why on earth would they arrive in that manner as through a meteorite?
I don't know.
What's going
how
on?
didn't Gandalf sort of, after falling and fighting with the Balrog and stuff like that, and he sort of joined up with the cosmos again, and then he was sent back. And the way he described it sounds like he could have been tossed back. I mean, in the movie, he was naked on that snowy mountain.
Do you want this to be Saruman Radagast, or would you prefer it to be a blue wizard, the other blue wizard?
Yeah, I would prefer this to be one of the other blue wizards before they bring either Radagast or Saruman back into this narrative, because
Yeah,
they
great.
don't show up until the Third Age. So yeah, I would much prefer this be the mystery of we don't know who it is, and then eventually in season 2, we find out it's one of the blue wizards. That'd be great. I'd be down for that.
Of course,
You know,
now my other theory is simply that it reminds me of the hag, the evil queen, disguised as a hag, offering an apple to Snow White to poison her.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just because after all, there's only one point of color that you're looking at, and everything else is grungy.
nice. I still don't get the connection between this meteor man and this image.
There
I
is
missed
no
that.
connection. It's just the rumors that
Oh.
we've had for the longest time was there's a meteor man that crashes into the Earth, kind of Terminator style, and that's where we got our first hint of nudity, which caused all the ruckus. And we went all in on, like, there was no nudity in Tolkien's stories,
Right.
and so then it became, oh well, the nudity is limited to a Terminator type thing. It's like, oh well, if that's the nudity, then that might be fine.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of ways that the creatives can write that kind of a narrative, but one thing that comes to mind is when the Ainur came to Middle Earth, they sort of had to cross into the void or out of the void. I'm misremembering, but there could be, a motif of Melkor or even Melkor's faithful servant coming through in that way, just because there was such discord and the music was so contrary to the rest of the music. But as we heard Cliff say, that stuff probably isn't in there, but that might make sense.
Indeed.
I've seen two theories pop up that I've enjoyed reading. I don't know if I get behind either one, but one is that the apple that he's holding represents some sort of temptation, and that he's there to be more of a villainous type character. And the other theory that I actually didn't read, I just made it up in my head right now. Maybe you see him holding the fruit. He befriends the Harfoots, gives them fruit, hands them a scroll that they cannot read, and shoos Lenny Henry on his way to go get it translated to deliver some epic message.
What does George Lucas call that? The call to adventure?
Yes.
Mhm.
The thing I like about the guy on the right is the rumors. I don't know if our rumors of the Blue Wizards casting is true, but gosh, those fingers look like famous Iranian actor Ghassan Masood, and I would love if Ghassan Masood is a blue wizard, and those are his elongated wizardly fingers. And that apple represents the tree of knowledge.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
So-
super cool.
All right, we're getting there.
Down to the last one.
Before we get we got to get to this last one, but I've got to go because it's it's about that time that I gotta go. But look at this. Hello, Witch King of Angmar. Boy, howdy.
Why do you
Doesn't that
say Witch King of Angmar?
because that's what it evokes. It is a visual motif that evokes, for
Yeah.
me, all of those tight close-ups that Peter Jackson gave us of the Witch King getting into his armor. I mean, this is what this looks like to me.
Witch
does.
King doesn't exist until the Third Age, dude.
I know, but what if
Um,
this is one of the powerful Numenorians who is persuaded by Sauron and ends up getting one of the rings of the nine? That would ultimately lead the character to what we would know as a informed fandom. We know that character would ultimately get to that place in his fate where he would become a Nazgul. So this is pretty cool. It's exceptionally cool, and I love the weird design of the hilt of this weapon and the pommel. It's wonderful design. It's
And the
great.
gems embedded in the tip there. There's been some speculation amongst Torn staff that this is a female character.
Mhm.
Yeah, look at that pinch at the waist, that highlight in the back. That is a woman's corset. That is a woman's waist.
Yep, sure could be. And Victor and other people in the chat and a lot of other people online are recognizing this as Adar, who is a corrupted elf. Okay. That's what the interwebs are telling us.
I thought corrupted elves turned into orcses.
Different process.
Different corruption you're talking about. That's
Wait, hold
totally-
on. We have multiple forms of torture.
You're talking about a biological process of torturing and genetically changing elves over a very, very, very long period of time that Morgoth undertook with black arts of magic, necromancy, and evil, and other powers that we don't understand, versus a human being being corrupted by the power of a ring. You're talking
OMG.
about completely different things here.
OMG, girl, Witch King, slay, girl boss.
And I was wondering about, I mean, just because they say that, the rings of men, men was a race which included women.
That's true.
So there's
That's
no
true.
saying that amongst those 9 kings, they could have actually been a queen.
Yeah, or one of the lords of men, who was,
Yeah.
one of the leaders
Is
that was
one of
corrupted by Sauron.
Melkor's lords. Is Sauron female?
No, they are non-sexual in presentation. They are spirits. They're angelic powers. Come
So
on.
kind of like that Doctor Strange ultimate. What was her name? Their name?
You mean the Sorcerer Supreme, played by
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton?
Tilda Swinton.
Okay, come on. You're funny.
Would you be okay if Sauron is a Tilda Swinton type, androgynous?
Why not? That's they. Who's the actress who plays Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones?
Oh,
What's her name?
yeah, the tall lady.
Gwendolyn
She-
Christie.
Gwen,
Yeah.
thank you. Gwendolyn Christie was just cast to play Lucifer in the Sandman series that Neil Gaiman is bringing from his comic books, and that's because the Lucifer character is a androgynous, non-gender specific, angel and angelic being. And when you're representing non-humans or deities, the powerful that are demigods or angels or deities, and they represent themselves in human form, you can always play around with that in that box because they don't have to take a human form based upon our appraisal of what a human form looks like. You know what I mean? They can be
Yeah.
non-gender
Mhm.
entirely. Yeah.
It's a really great concept, and I think it lends to Anatar's ability to seduce both genders and beyond.
Yeah, well, and
100%.
and this kind of goes back to my whole where's sexy Sauron. I don't necessarily think that seduction and temptation have to be a sexual thing because it's all about the power.
Absolutely.
In this idea of Tolkien, his idea of seduction is about metaphysics and spiritual failing and temptation of power over, judicial thinking and reasonable thinking. Yeah, exactly what he's talking about. Yeah.
Why does
That's what I
the
meant.
thought of a female badass have to be LGBTQ? Monica asks. It doesn't.
Not necessarily. I want to wish everybody a good night, but as a wedding minister, I have a bride and groom that are waiting for me to create a wedding ceremony with them. So I've got to
Oh,
go and talk to
go-
my bride and groom right now.
It'll be awesome.
It's going to be an awesome wedding. It's going to be great. And
Enjoy,
this
Cliff.
is an awesome conversation. Thank you, Varking and Tukish and Kathy, and for joining us, and everybody in the chat. You're the best. You're the best community we could ever have for Tolkien fans. I love you guys. You're amazing.
We'll see you
Amazing.
Sunday, Cliff, for the big game, the big trailer.
Probably before then. Probably before then. Okay, I'll catch up with you all very soon. Okay?
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Cliff.
Thank
Here,
you.
Cliff.
All I'm
You know-
saying, look, all I'm saying is, if this is an androgynous, Witch King, it changes the whole dynamic of Eowyn screaming, "I am no man," because then it's like, well, I'm not either.
Yeah, I like that point, but there's a chatter on YouTube, Monica Alamin, and she said, does anyone think there's something Ungoliant about the top of this sword? You just put that right in my head, because I've been trying to think, what does that look like? And absolutely echoes some
What's an
giant nasty
Ungoliant?
spider.
Is that a place?
Spider.
Ungoliant is the spider who accompanies Morgoth. I don't know, now of course the right word, but I think it's Morgoth, into the Undying Lands and poisons the trees of Valinor.
Wait, so the destruction of the two trees which we see in the official photo that Amazon released last year, is destroyed by Ungoliant the spider?
Yep. Yeah, so Shelob is just a spawn of Ungoliant. Ungoliant is the bigger, badder version.
Shelob's mommy. Okay, so I like this. So you're getting Ungoliant vibes. Does that mean this is Melkor? This is Morgoth?
Potentially, but they weren't exactly partners. They had a very uneasy alliance that did not turn out well. Ungoliant and Morgoth. And she was absolutely a hoarder of gems. So I don't know, but I do.
Would
think it has a good
Amazon dare do what the Lord of the Rings video games did and turn a spider into a sexy woman? They turned Shelob into a humanoid woman.
There could be some shape shifting going on. We know that Sauron took different forms before he was that power was taken away from him, but
including a big eye.
Yeah. Here's another thought. What if this is a female Morgoth also coming out of the YouTube chat? That's from Of Gondor.
Yeah.
Cool ideas.
Well,
are these still true to Tolkien? Will you be turned off and lost if this, or is this still kind of Tolkien left it open to interpretation? Did he gender Morgoth?
I'm pretty sure Morgoth has gender. I'm pretty sure Sauron has gender. But that said, no, I don't think that would bother me personally too much.
Yeah, and the thing about the fact that it's right behind you, John, is obviously the image with the trees and all that, is if they showed that, unless it's going to be some sort of flashback, don't you think there's got to be some sort of action that's going to take place in that place?
The storytelling's too tragic to leave it alone.
Yeah.
We're too close to it, so I need a third party opinion. So Varking, do you think there's any significance that of all the posters that were given to influencers, they gave this poster to release for the One Ring?
Okay. I would say yes, because I think you guys are the big community in the Tolkien fandom. You guys have been around the longest, and this is definitely one of the coolest images. But I was given an image as well, and it was not of a dwarf, so I don't know if they're paying that much attention to it.
Which one were you given?
I was given the female-looking elf with the two-tone sword that people believe is Galadriel.
You got Galadriel?
Would trade it 100 times out of 100 for a dwarf.
Varkin, let's
Amazon,
have
if
a
you're
shout
watching
out.
in the
Is that
future,
Fellowship
hook
of
your boy up.
Fans?
Fair
Throw a shout
enough.
out.
But so do you think there's any subtext? We know Amazon's playing games with us, especially if they're giving us a bunch of non-characters. Do you think Amazon purposely said the One Ring? The One Ring, of course, gets this photo. So is this Sauron, the creator of the One Ring?
I see where you're going with that.
That would be beautiful. And you know what? For the night, I'll give you that one because I want to believe that they have the fans' best interest at mind and they are thinking about lore and they are trying to think next level with some of this advertising. And I think that would be super dope for you guys to have that.
Yeah.
I think this is Sauron, and I think they gave it to the One Ring, and this is the hand that creates the One Ring. They did it on purpose.
I like it.
Either that, or they really don't like the OneRing.net for leaking all this stuff, and they gave us the ultimate bad guy because that's what they think of us as the ultimate bad guy.
I didn't want to say it on your stream.
Which means that they think Reddit is the hero that we all deserve?
Not if they were around about 2 years ago, no.
All right, that is it, folks. That is the
2.5 hours, really, guys?
Wow, pretty epic.
That
for
is solid
photos.
Practice.
Yeah, that's some good practice, isn't it?
That's right.
Wow.
Warming up for Sunday, friends.
Oh, have my snacks. I actually already did all my Super Bowl shopping today. So I've got my
Wow.
chips, my dip, and I've got my food. I'm all ready.
What are you serving? Are you going to make Balrog wings?
Why would I do that?
I totally need to make Balrog wings. I'm telling you, keep the jokes coming because I think we're gonna go for like 6 hours analyzing the trailer. So
I'm sorry in advance.
I hope you
Well, a
all
lot
tune
of us are going to
in.
be moving in and out.
Oh man, I don't know how we're gonna manage people, and it's just gonna be so much. I
Are
feel
you
like
going to be able to screen the trailer, or is it one of those things where you have to watch it on the TV and then turn on the
that's what I don't know. Like, is there like, do they have, because they paid $25 million? Like, do they have to show it on the TV and then wait 5 minutes to put it on YouTube, or will we have the YouTube link at the same time? So it's just like we play it. A lot of people, I know the people that want to be on the show with us, like their cable TV is not in the same room as their computer. So
same. My
I feel-
problem.
yeah, so I feel like, yeah, I hope that YouTube and Super Bowl launch at the same exact second. I hope that we get the link and we're able to play it for you guys live on the air. So if you're watching the pregame show, the 15-minute pregame show or whatever, like, we will hit play at the same time that it shows up on TV, so you guys won't miss out on anything. And then we can play it again and play it again, and we'll probably play it 3 times because we can do that and NBC can't. And then we'll dive in to a deep discussion. So Varking, are you going to be like busy like moderating the influx of conversation from Discord and Reddit?
We already have a pretty good mod team on Discord. I think we are ready to handle an influx of new people with a billion questions and steer them to the right places on the server. And I think I've, over the past couple weeks, put together a decent Reddit staff of moderators that I won't need to be 24/7 monitoring the sub. And we have auto moderators set up to catch all the nasty words that we don't like to see on the sub. That'll weed out a lot of that for me already.
That's smart.
Barking is awesome.
Yeah.
He's done such a great job. Thank you so much for putting that Discord together for Torn. We're up. Have we hit 1,000? I told you I would give you some told you I would leak something if we hit 1,000 by the end of the
Yes,
show.
we hit 1,000.
Did we?
Plus or
Did we?
minus.
Hold on. How do we
I don't
tell
I
how
don't
many
know how to
people?
tell, so I
Checking.
can't answer that question.
Is there a way to tell how many people are in the One Ring Discord? Again, you can go to the link is on the
yeah,
screen.
I can find out in 1 second.
It
It's a
is
little quiet 'cause
discord.gg
it's
slash the One Ring. You guys should just all be able to get in. I'm sorry that some people in the chat room were saying that they were getting kickbacks or something. Maybe try a different browser or wait, no, Discord is an app. Maybe download the app and then try to log in. Yeah.
I just accepted your friend request on Discord, John.
I saw you.
I don't know how to use this.
We are
all the
right
symbols.
around 950 members. 950.
Oh,
rounds
we didn't
up to
hit. You know
1,000.
what? My spoiler is going to have to wait another week then.
Oh.
Robert Hill has been around so long, he says it needs to be in glorious QuickTime 3 for nostalgia's sake. So maybe the One Ring will upload a glorious QuickTime 3 640 by 480 version so you guys can relive what it's like. And we'll put it on our slowest server so it takes you an hour to download. And you can feel like what it was for us 20 years ago when there was a trailer and there was no YouTube and there was no Facebook and MySpace video.
And it took a day to get the all the images, all the screen caps.
yeah, and then we took all day taking screen caps because no one could watch the video or download it because it burned our server. So I will say this: 20 years ago, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, set all records for the internet for most downloads of any file ever in 24 hours. The only thing to break Star Wars record for like a decade, the only thing that broke Star Wars, like Episode 1, that was the hugest movie that was coming out. The Lord of the Rings trailer broke download records set by Star Wars when the trailer hit. The Lord of the Rings is the only thing that was bigger than Star Wars. And here we are in 2022, and we're about to get the first trailer again for the next phase of Lord of the Rings that is a TV show. And tonight also is the finale of the Book of Boba Fett, where we have amazing... I won't even spoil it, but the last 2 episodes have been stunning.
Yes,
And
they have.
huge for Star Wars fans. And it's just been so much fun. You know what? Whether you're lore and this and that and connections, the last 2 Star Wars series have been so much fun. And the hopeful thing is that us Tolkien fans are going to have a lot of fun watching this show unfold starting September 2nd. So, you know what? Thank you, Varking. Thank you, Cliff, Tukish, Kathy, all joining us for an epic long show. Oh my God, it's 8:30. I started at 5. And you know what? I've got a lot of work ahead. We're going to try to put together an awesome show as Torn can. We hope that you join us. We hope that the big game is so uninteresting that you turn it off and you start watching us.
It'll be on in the background, and if I hear there's a touchdown, I will run. And then I
Right.
will
Well, LA, you're Southern California with us, Kathy. So it's like hometown. Our home team is playing in our hometown.
You know, and I was a Rams fan when they were in Anaheim.
Oh my
And-
God.
And they were, you know, the big A, that's for the Angels, the big A for Anaheim for the Angels. So it was always a Rams fan.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
that was the
So
bumper sticker. One of the only bumper stickers my mom ever put on her car. Always a Rams fan.
Wow.
so I'm telling you, like, just personally, me and Cliff are sacrificing a lot because it's our home game and our home team. But you know what? Tolkien comes
DVRs
first. As
And
Cliff
DVRs
said.
exist. And DVRs exist.
We're not. You don't DVR the Super Bowl.
I do. I'm DVRing the Olympics right now.
Oh man, Winter's Lady in the chat room says I was Sunflower on Torn. I'm sure a lot of you have old accounts of old nicknames. We're gonna have an all-star panel of people. It's gonna go for many hours. I think people are gonna duck in and out. I think we're gonna have people come in, people leave, people come in, people leave. All I know is we're trying to put together an awesome thing with a bunch of different perspectives of fans. from all around the world, because Tolkien
It's
is
global.
everywhere and Tolkien is everything. So thank you, Varking. Again, if you see him in the Discord, give Varking a thumbs up and give him thanks. And I believe we have our IRC comment. The bots are now in Discord, so you can put !Balrog, and you can order a plate of Balrog wings in the Discord. And if you put ! What are some of the other commands you can do?
11s.
Lambus.
Explain that. How do you do that?
Lambus.
So you just go to the general chat, you type ! 11sies, and ! Balrog. Just hit enter, and the server will serve you.
It'll work in general, and it'll work in the old Barliman channel.
Oh, that's so funny.
We're
we put
bringing
together-
fun back. We just want to have fun. So,
Yeah.
all right, this is an extra long Torn Tuesday. We hope everyone has enjoyed all of the discussion of 23 questions fans have for the showrunners. And you know what? Look, I'm just going to tell you guys, because the spoiler doesn't really work next week.
Okay.
Set your clocks, set your alarms for Thursday. Good Morning America on ABC is going to have something special for Lord of the Rings fans. So set your DVRs, folks. You
I
heard
set
it here
mine
first.
Yeah.
Good Morning America this Thursday morning. And there's something bigger coming up on Thursday, but just be prepared to freak out on Thursday. It's not a trailer,
No
it's
bad
not
words.
video.
No
but
bad words.
Yeah, it's so Good Morning America. Get ready. Thursday's going to be amazing. Friday's going to be amazing. We'll have more details on how to watch and what to watch and get ready, and maybe we can make some Balrog rings. So thank you, Varking, for all your help. Thank you, Tukish and Kathy, for 20 years with the
Thank
One
you,
Ring.
Justin. You're
We're still
awesome.
doing it.
What a workhorse.
All right.
Woo-hoo.
Good night, folks.
Night, everybody. Keep the faith.
Buenos noches y buena suerte.
Yeah, you got it.